Chapter 2849. Sometimes the world was just so amazing. A second ago, Blue Lotus Fairy used her talent to attack, and the next second she was pressured by the point. It didn't matter who attacked first. The most important thing was who killed her first. Since Yi Zichen's points caused the final kill, Blue Lotus Fairy was no longer able to reveal her proud expression. She was as obedient as a child who did something wrong. Sorry. Blue Lotus Fairy lowered her head and apologized. Can I write the reflection letter in the future? I don't have points to buy these right now. You can give me some in advance, then I can. Oh, you're so obedient now? Yi Zichen purposely acted surprised and raised his eyebrows. Who was it just now? You even said, King in 100 years, sovereign in 1,000 years. Why did that cocky attitude suddenly disappear? I was wrong, Blue Lotus Fairy muttered. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and twitched his mouth. Look at your position clearly from now on. Don't be rude to your leader. No matter how amazing you are in the human race, are you my match here? 5 billion points. Do you think I'm joking with you? I can kill you with a single finger. Isn't it just because you have some crappy points? What are you so proud of? Blue Lotus Fairy muttered in her heart. Did you just say that you're never going to return to the human race's universe? Think about it carefully. In the human universe, I am a sovereign and you are just a shrimp in my eyes. I'm talking to you. Yi Zichen frowned. Leader, I'm listening. Blue Lotus Fairy didn't dare to say anything no matter how she thought about it. If you are truly proficient in secret techniques, then just teach us the secret techniques properly. I can give you 50,000 points like you said. But the condition is, what you're teaching us has to make me feel that you're worth it. It's definitely worth it, Blue Lotus Fairy smiled confidently. If you don't believe me, then go and ask Wenli. Who would dare to say that they are first if I say that I'm second in understanding the laws of the universe? She wouldn't dare to. Are you sure? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. If you don't believe me, then go and ask her if you can meet her, Blue Lotus Fairy said in disdain. I have her as a friend in the virtual world, Yi Zichen replied. Blue Lotus Fairy's expression, which was originally filled with arrogance, stiffened. You're lying. How could you know Wenli? I'm talking about Wenli, the head of the virtual world group, not those Tom, Dick, and Harry people you know. That's her. Yi Zichen shrugged. Don't you know who I am? I'm the Milky Way Lord. Wenli is my older sister, Blue Emperor is my older brother, and our Milky Way Galaxy, the Virtual World Corporation, and the Universe Union Bank are allies. I definitely have a way to contact them. I also know the nine-faced hegemon of the Virtual World Corporation. Are you really the Galactic Lord? Blue Lotus Fairy thought that Yi Zichen was just joking. I guarantee it's real. Yi Zichen shrugged. Aren't you on the internet? Right now, I seem to be rather popular in the virtual world. Don't you know me? I know, but I don't have any photos. All right, I am indeed a Galactic Lord. Hit the muzzle. She had originally wanted to brag a little, saying that Wenli was the leader of the virtual world group. High and mighty. Even hegemons and sovereigns weren't something that she could meet whenever she wanted, much less someone like Yi Zichen. But he knows Wenli. That's terrible. Do I even need to ask Big Sister Wenli for confirmation? Yi Zichen tilted his head and smiled. Leader Wenli is pretty busy. Never mind, Blue Lotus Fairy smiled. Blue Lotus Fairy grinned. The head of the virtual world group is definitely very busy. How would he have the time to bother with your small matter? Although Wenli is your older sister, you can't be spoiled. We'll talk about it later. It's fine, Big Sister Wenli treats me very well. All right, you need to be more sensible, Blue Lotus Fairy frowned. I have to teach you a lesson about this. Being nice to you is based on the fact that there's no conflict between the two of you. Say, if you ask something as small as this, what if Big Sister Wenli gets angry? What's more, everyone knows that I'm number one in controlling the laws of the universe. You suddenly asked Big Sister Wunli about this. No matter what, she's still a supreme being. She'll lose face if she admits it, but she'll also lose face if she doesn't admit it. Either way, this question is a dead end, so don't ask. But didn't you ask me just now? Yi Zichen shrugged. I was just making an example. Why would I really let you ask? Either way, I have a clear conscience. I'm just doing it for your own good. If you really want to ask, then I won't stop you. Blue Lotus Fairy retreated in order to advance. You're afraid of being exposed, right? Yi Zichen smiled. Are you panicking right now? Is your heart beating really fast? I just wanted to pretend a bit. Why did I get myself into trouble? What should I do? If he really asks, then my lie will be exposed. What should I say to make him stop asking? So annoying, right? Blue Lotus Fairy clenched her teeth in anger. Why did I meet such a troublesome brat? And it just had to be the ancestral dragon clan. This brat got lucky and earned a few billion. I can't do anything to him. If this was the human universe, then I'll first burn him, then whip him with lightning, then cut him into pieces with the space, then destroy him. I have to blame the ancestral dragon clan. Instead of letting me use the power of the universe, they had to do all this nonsense. I already said, I have a clear conscience, Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged. Fairy Blue Lotus shrugs. If you really want to ask, then I definitely won't stop you. She was indeed confident in her comprehension of the laws of the universe. Never mind, I won't ask. I'll save you some face. No matter what, you're a sovereign. It's not good to give others the impression that you're a liar, shameless and shameless, Yi Zichen shrugged. What's more, even if I ask, there won't be any result. You already said that Big Sister Wunli Jie would lose face if she admitted it. If she doesn't, then you'll say that she didn't admit it on purpose. Then what's the point of me not asking? You're already in an invincible position. Ask. Blue Lotus Fairy glared at Yi Zichen. Seriously? My comprehension of the laws of the universe is just too strong. Go and ask Wunli. Just ask her. I won't. Yi Zichen shook his head. Actually, Yi Zichen could tell from Blue Lotus Fairy's current state that she was confident in her comprehension of the laws of the universe. That's enough. It doesn't matter whether I'm number one in the universe or not. The comprehension of a sovereign definitely surpasses those who haven't been titled yet. Hurry up and ask. Blue Lotus Fairy was furious. Please pay attention to your status, Blue Lotus Fairy. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. You don't want 50,000 points anymore? Chapter 2850. Everyone had a weakness. They were destined to be used by others. Blue Lotus was in such a situation. After Yi Zichen threatened her with 50,000 points multiple times, she could only remain silent. She silently followed behind Yi Zichen. Just you wait. Stinking brat, don't leave the ancestral dragon clan for the rest of your life if you dare. Blue Lotus muttered in her heart. Her gaze was filled with resentment. That was all she could do. Without points, it was hard to do anything in the ancestral dragon clan. It was impossible for her to work for the rest of her life. She had no choice but to endure. As long as one was alive, there would always be hope and miracles. This is where I live now. Are you going to stay here as well, or back in front of the hotel? Yi Zichen tilted his head and looked at Blue Lotus, who was muttering. Actually, Yi Zichen could see everything she was muttering. Other people might not be able to see it, but he was someone with a godhead. He could see all of Blue Lotus's changes and gaze. He could see everything clearly. I have to go and bring my little disciple over, Blue Lotus smiled. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled. Yi Zichen shrugged, then go. Just directly ask the front desk when you get here. All right. Blue Lotus pursed her lips and looked at Yi Zichen silently. What are you thinking about? Yi Zichen asked. I want to hug you, Blue Lotus muttered. I don't mean anything else. I just want to thank you for taking pity on us, master and disciple. No, it's not that exaggerated. Yi Zichen shook his head with a wry smile. Yi Zichen shook his head wryly. then shrugged when he saw the determination in Blue Lotus Fairy's eyes. Come. Blue Lotus lowered her head and hugged Yi-Zichen shyly, then left not long later. Wait for us. As soon as she finished speaking, she left in a hurry like a wisp of smoke. Yi-Zichen also stood in front of the hotel and stretched lazily. I've gained quite a lot this time. 4.5 billion entered his account. Even if they don't open a shop, it's enough for them to spend in the ancestral dragon clan. Back in the room. Wow, Fairy Blue Lotus is really beautiful. Meng Luo seemed to have forgotten to chew as she stared blankly at the image on the screen. What are you doing? Xia Kiki, who was watching the show in the living room, ran over. Brother Zichen. What are you guys doing? Yi-Zichen took off his jacket and hung it on the clothes rack in front of the room. I'm watching an entertainment program on the virtual network. Virtual network? Yi-Zichen was momentarily stunned. The ancestral dragon clan could connect to the virtual network? In other words, the Virtual World Corporation had built the network here. However, there was no news about the ancestral dragon tribe during the human era. Lockdown? In the past, there was a phenomenon of region locking in the secular world, and it was probably the same for the ancestral dragon race. He nodded lightly. Thus, Yi-Zichen walked over and snatched Meng Luo's skewer. Who is it? Meng Luo's eyes widened as her skewer was snatched away. When she saw that it was Yi-Zichen, she smiled joyfully. God! The others followed suit. Only the flame rat was still staring blankly at the projection on the virtual network. It was almost drooling. Come back to your senses. Yi-Zichen waved his hand in front of the flame rat's eyes, then glanced over at the virtual network projection curiously. What are you looking at? Is it that good? But the moment he saw the image in the projection, the person on the projection was none other than Blue Lotus Fairy, whom he had bullied for a long time. Blue Lotus Fairy. She's really popular on the entertainment programs. She's a really popular idol for us humans recently. She's pretty and her singing is great. Most importantly, she's a sovereign. Meng Luo seemed to like Blue Lotus Fairy a lot, and her gaze was like a fangirl. She tilted her head and looked out the window. I wonder if she'll come to the ancestral dragon clan this time. She's a new sovereign as well, so she should be reporting to the ancestral dragon clan. I have to get her autograph then. You can't get her autograph with your status? I can't, Meng Luo sighed. My family even sent people to get it, but they couldn't. Getting Blue Lotus Fairy's autograph is even harder than becoming a ruler. You like her a lot? Yi-Zichen raised his eyebrows. I really like her, Meng Luo said exaggeratedly. Meng Luo said exaggeratedly, I have a lot of posters of her at home. Previously, I really wanted to be a cosmic idol. Unfortunately, my family doesn't want me to do it. They said that I'm the future family head, so I can't slack off. That's right, Yi-Zichen didn't deny it. But I like her a lot. Meng Luo's eyes were filled with love for Blue Lotus Fairy. The flame rat too? Yi-Zichen raised his eyebrows and muttered as he looked at the flame rat, who was still in a daze. He just likes good-looking people. Sure. Meng Luo, don't you like Blue Lotus Fairy's autograph? I'll get one for you, Yi-Zichen smiled. Ah! Meng Luo instantly opened her mouth in shock. Why, you know Blue Lotus Fairy? I definitely do, Yi-Zichen smiled. I'm telling you, not only do I know her, I'm her leader. Seriously? Meng Luo was shocked. Even Hua Jianrou and Bai Yu looked over. Blue Lotus Fairy's reputation. Pretty much everyone in the human universe knew of her. The most popular idol of the human race. She might even have more fans than the head of the Virtual World Corporation, when Yi-Zichen was actually her leader. The fairy studio is yours? Hua Jianrou revealed a look of shock. That's not right, Blue Lotus Fairy's studio already existed 1,000 years ago. Back then you don't believe me? Yi-Zichen chuckled. Then what if Blue Lotus Fairy really calls me boss? I'm not going to bet with you. Hua Jianrou was no longer the rash girl from before. She could tell from Yi Zichen's confident look that it wasn't fake. However, she actually didn't really believe it. Just you guys wait, Blue Lotus Fairy is going to come and find me later. At that time, you guys can ask for her autograph however you want, or even take a photo with her. Yi Zichen smiled, while also finding it unbelievable. It's actually true. Yi Zichen didn't really believe it when she said that he was her idol. Really? Little Meng Luo exclaimed in surprise. Yi Zichen patted her head with a smile. Yeah, it's true. With that, Yi Zichen looked towards Bai Yu. How's the shop? I didn't sign it, Bai Yu pursed his lips. I feel like we shouldn't sign it, it's too risky. What's more, that boss isn't willing either. Not willing? Yi Zichen couldn't help but be shocked. He actually isn't willing after paying a deposit of over 1 million. Is this person actually stupid or just pretending to be stupid? For him, there are only benefits and no downsides. Never mind if he isn't willing, let's not rent his crappy shop. Yi Zichen twitched his mouth. Yi Zichen twitched his mouth. Oh yeah, when we did our research last time, there was a store that was directly for sale. Which one was the really expensive one? The one opposite the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. Bai Yu pursed his lips. That shop isn't bad, but it's too expensive. How many points? 400 million. I'll buy it. Chapter 2851. 400 million. It was like a drizzle in Yi Zichen's eyes. He truly felt that earning points was way too easy. He was like a fish in water in the gambling house, since he had the power of a godhead. He could win however he wanted. The prerequisite was that he had to be alive to take it out. Since he earned so much this time, spending 400 million to buy a shop wasn't a big deal for him. The people in the room, they were all shocked when they saw Yi Zichen wave his hand. Yi Zi, are you alright? Hua Jianrou reached out her hand and touched Yi Zichen's head. Are you hearing things, or are we hearing things? That shop is 400 million, not 4 points. Do you think we'll just buy it just because you say so? Heya, young. Yi Zichen shook his head with a smile, then took out a point crystal. Look. Everyone watched suspiciously as he tossed out the point crystals. He injected energy into it. 20 million. F***ck, so much? Everyone couldn't help but be shocked when they saw the points on the point crystal. They looked up at Yi Zichen. Where did you get it? Keep looking. With that, Yi Zichen threw out another point crystal. 10 million. Then, he threw out several more. They were all 10 million. Altogether, there were already more than 110 million. My God! Where did you go? How did you get so many points? Hua Jianrou opened her eyes wide. Her mouth was wide enough to fit an egg. But this isn't enough to buy that shop. That's nothing. This is a huge bomb, Yi Zichen smiled. Yi Zichen grinned, then took out another point crystal. This time, it's going to be a big one. You guys better be prepared. Hearing Yi Zichen's words, everyone subconsciously gulped. Hua Jianrou also looked around, then let out a deep sigh. He injected energy into it. 50,000. The number on it was 50,000. The people who were already prepared to be shocked were shocked when they saw the number. You're shocked, right? Yi Zichen crossed his legs proudly. Wow, this is too scary. Hua Jianrou rubbed her nose, then clapped with a dry laugh. Too scary. Let me tell you, this is nothing. Yi Zichen said proudly. Use your points however you want. If you lack points in the future, then I'll just go out and get a few billion. I'll guarantee you wealth and glory. I'm going to buy that shop in full later. Yi Zichen, can you wake up? Hua Jianrou held the point crystal and silently walked in front of Yi Zichen. Are you sure? Can 50,000 points buy that shop? Huh? 50,000. Only then did Yi Zichen retract his gaze and look at the point crystals. 50,000? Yi Zichen rubbed his eyes, then snatched the crystal back and personally injected energy into it. The number displayed, it was indeed 50,000. What was going on? Yi Zichen quickly searched around in his pocket for a long time. There were no more crystals. This was the last one. He hurriedly took the other crystals, and the points of these crystals did not change. It was indeed a staff member of the casino. Yi Zichen was also certain that he currently held 4,580,000,000 origin stones in his hand. He purposely placed the stones somewhere else. It was to scare Meng Luo and company. Yi Zi is already amazing. We have a bit over 100 million now, it's enough, Bai Yu smiled. Not enough. Yi Zichen opened his eyes wide. This stone should have 4.5 billion. Why, all of a sudden, Yi Zichen thought back to the hug in front of the hotel. F***CK. Blue Lotus Fairy. She had swapped out the points crystals. Wait here, I'll be back soon. Yi Zichen hurriedly ran out of the room. I knew it. Why did Blue Lotus Fairy have to play with him like that? Hug. Gratitude? I'd be a fool to believe her. She's after Yi Zichen's point crystals. Don't let me catch you. Yi Zichen let out a deep breath after running out of the hotel, then released his power of divinity. Within a small restaurant in Liberation City, a little lowly, who looked to be around 10 years old, had a rag on her shoulder as she walked around the restaurant carrying plates. When she finished carrying the plates and was about to wash them, she suddenly started to cry. She missed home. She shouldn't have followed that stupid master to a place like this. She didn't have enough to eat and no clothes to wear. She didn't even have a place to live. When she was at home, she was a little princess, but when she came here, she began to wash dishes. Little disciple. At that moment, Blue Lotus Fairy stood on the roof of the restaurant's backyard and called out to the little girl. The familiar voice caused the little girl to look up. When she saw who it was, she immediately looked away and started to wash the plates as if she was throwing a tantrum. Stop washing. Blue Lotus Fairy ran up and grabbed the little girl's arm. This isn't something you can do. What am I supposed to eat if I don't wash? The little girl's eyes became misty. You only know how to gamble, and you don't care about me. Don't come and find me. I'm doing pretty well here. I take care of my food and shelter. Don't even think about asking me for points, I won't give them to you. Look at what you're saying. Can Master take your points? You can. The little girl's reply was resolute and decisive. Soon after, she noticed that Blue Lotus Fairy had actually changed into a new set of clothes and had even taken a bath. Why did you change your clothes and shower? The little girl's voice was filled with questions. I don't even have clothes to wear. Master will bring you to buy them now. Let's buy whatever we want. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled and raised her eyebrows. The little girl frowned and looked at her for a while. You're rich? Master has already told you that the great fortune is about to arrive, said Yi Shiwen. Blue Lotus Fairy grinned and said, Today, Master went on a killing spree in the gambling house. Guess how much I won? Tens of thousands. Guess again. Hundreds of thousands. Can't you have more guts? A few million? Hearing the little girl's voice, Blue Lotus Fairy shook her head and sighed. She took out a point stone from her pocket. See for yourself. The little girl suspiciously received the point stone and infused energy into it. The long row of numbers made her dumbfounded. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. The little girl pointed at the number on it. 4.5 billion. That's right. Blue Lotus Fairy squinted her eyes. This time, we master and disciple can do whatever we want. I already told you that if you follow Master, you'll be able to eat and drink well. Master is awesome. The little girl shouted until her voice broke. Now you know what to do, right? Blue Lotus Fairy smiled and raised her eyebrows. The little girl nodded her head and threw the cloth off her shoulder. I'm not doing it anymore. Chapter 28:52. She flung the cloth. The little girl scrunched her nose, staring fiercely at the restaurant behind her. Teacher! I've been wronged during this period of time. As she spoke, the little girl looked like she was about to cry. Tears welled up in her eyes as she started to cry. Yet, seeing the little girl cry, Blue Lotus Fairy didn't even blink, much less coax her. A strange scene appeared. Just as Blue Lotus Fairy's words landed, she really held it back. She looked as if she wasn't the one who was crying just now. Her eyes weren't even red. "What's wrong, teacher?" The little girl's eyes were filled with confusion. Blue Lotus Fairy looked at her for a while. "Ying, you've really trained your crying skills to perfection." "It's all because teacher taught me well," the little girl said humbly. "I taught you to cry? You taught me how to cheat and deceive." The little girl's face was filled with seriousness. Blue Lotus Fairy stared at her. "Don't speak nonsense. If Great Emperor Guo finds out, he'll beat me to death." "He won't." The little girl smiled and pursed her lips. "At most he'll beat you half to death." Blue Lotus Fairy went silent. The little girl's name was Guo Yingying, the only daughter of Great Emperor Guo. If one wanted to know who Great Emperor Guo was, an old man from the last dynasty of the human universe. During the shuffling of the human universe, only this great emperor wasn't affected. His position was still what it should be. The Supremes Association didn't mess with him, and he never thought of restoring the human empire. Overseeing the West region of the human universe, he had 16 universe countries, and they were all connected to each other. The outer regions of the universe countries were very far away from the human universe. It was a little like the island countries of Earth. His family couldn't be said to be the strongest in the universe, but if he were to say they were second, one probably wouldn't dare to say his virtual world company. He was the top of the universe. He was too lazy to fight for it. If others didn't bully him, then he definitely wouldn't bully others. As a result, humans didn't pay much attention to him. Many people probably didn't even know of the existence of such a family. However, Great Emperor Guo, who stood aloof from worldly affairs, only doted on his precious daughter. As long as it was what his daughter wanted. Give them all. The reason why Fairy Blue Lotus was able to get to know Guo Yingying was because Guo Yingying saw Fairy Blue Lotus's entertainment videos and felt that this person was very cool, so she told her father that she wanted this person to be her teacher. After that, Blue Lotus Fairy was brought over. "Don't worry, Master. I definitely won't tell my father about our relationship." Guo Yingying smiled. "Of course, if you're willing to give me 2 billion. Blue Lotus Fairy? Robbing a burning house. 2 billion. He really dared to ask. "Little girl, aren't you being a little too realistic?" Blue Lotus Fairy glares at Guo Yingying and says, "When I don't have any points, you have a face full of disdain and are not willing to sleep with me on the grass outside. Now that I have points and come back to find you, you start calling me master? Have you forgotten what you called me before? Then, you didn't contribute a single point, and you still want 2 billion? Give." Guo Yingying didn't pay any attention to Fairy Blue Lotus's words. Instead, she used an interrogative and casual tone to ask. "Give." Blue Lotus Fairy is a little regretful now. Why did she come to find this little ancestor? If she doesn't come, isn't for 5 billion not something that she can do whatever she wants? Thinking about it, she feels relieved. She doesn't dare to not come. If Great Emperor Guo were to know that his precious daughter is washing dishes in the ancestral dragon race, perhaps Blue Lotus Fairy will be in the human race in the future, someone else's race. Go to the outer realm. Master, you're the best. Guo Yingying pouts and kisses Blue Lotus Fairy's cheek, then carefully takes out a point crystal from her pocket. Turn it. You want it now? Blue Lotus Fairy glares. Of course. Guo Yingying purses her lips and whispers worriedly, "If you don't give it to me now, what if you don't give it to me in the future? What if you gamble and lose everything? Giving it to me now is also a form of insurance for my future. When you lose everything and sleep on the streets, you can still find a hotel to sleep in." "Just by yourself?" Blue Lotus Fairy whispers. "That's right. You don't have any more points, so you can't sleep with me. What a pity." Guo Yingying sighs. "I really like to sleep with Master. I say that Master smells good. Good disciple. I really took in a good disciple." She actually wants to live by herself and not care about me. I'll turn it to you. Blue Lotus Fairy is so angry that she is trembling. She transferred 2 billion points to Guo Yingying's point crystal. Looking at the points entering her account, Guo Yingying's face is filled with a joyful smile. I have money. Although the ancestral dragon race calls it points, in Guo Yingying's eyes, it is money. Actually, it wasn't just her. Everyone knew that. This is indeed money. What are you making a ruckus for, Guo Yingying? What are you doing? Hurry up and take the plates back. An angry roar can be heard from the restaurant. Not long later, a tall and sturdy man appears in front of Blue Lotus Fairy and Guo Yingying. Who are you? The tall and sturdy man stares at Blue Lotus Fairy with a different gaze in his eyes. What a beauty! Why did you come to my kitchen? You must be here to steal things. Steal your grandpa, Scram. Blue Lotus Fairy, who just lost 2 billion points, is currently furious. The tall and sturdy man smiles. Your temper is not small. Little girl, you are the first to dare to speak to me like this. Blue Lotus Fairy glares. Scram or not, I will kill you. What a shrewish little pepper. The tall and sturdy man smiles and takes out a point crystal. Instantly, a number of 70 million appears on the crystal. Little girl, look carefully. Don't say that I am bullying you. 70 million. Don't ask for trouble, okay? Wah, so much. At this moment, Guo Yingying's eyes are twinkling as she looks at the points in the sturdy man's hand. You have so many points. Why do you only give me 30 points a day? Do you think I am easy to bully? I have asked the other employees, they all get 100 points a day. Take as much as I give you. The tall and sturdy man glares. If you are not happy, then scram. I am kind enough to take you in, you know? If you speak any more nonsense, believe it or not, I will sell you into the mountains. You dare to kidnap and sell people. Humph, in Liberation City, there is nothing I dare not do. Before the tall and sturdy man can finish his sentence, Guo Yingying kicks his crotch. Little bastard. I have tolerated you for too long. I will kill you. Chapter 2853. Guo Yingying was a little princess since she was young. She had absolute authority in their area. These few days, she finally understood what it meant to be beaten up by society. No points. There was no place to stay and no food to eat. Her master was also a gambling addict. At such a young age, she had no choice but to shoulder the responsibility of supporting herself. In the end, she was abducted here. Originally, she wanted to find a gourmet shop to be a mascot and use her cute and charming smile to attract customers. Unfortunately, she was abducted here. Warning: she was abducted here, she did not come willingly. It was this man who said that he was a cake maker and needed a little girl like her to attract customers. When she heard that, it was exactly what she wanted. After coming here, she found out she was harmed. She could not run away. There were many people in the shop every day. She had no choice but to swallow her anger and wash the dishes here. She had to be ordered around by this man every day. Fortunately, this place provided lodging and meals. She lived on a broken bed. What he ate was leftovers. She endured it. She believed that one day, her father would know that his precious daughter was suffering and kill his way to the ancestral dragon clan to bring her back. When that time comes, she had to beat this human trafficker up first. She really did not expect this. This day had arrived so quickly. Who asked you to order me to do this and that every day? Try shouting at me again. Guo Yingying, who had accumulated points, kicked the burly man who called himself Lord Tiger. You still want to sell me? Little brat, do you know who I am? If my father finds out, he will kill your entire clan. Come on, hit me again. Guo Yingying kicked for a long time before realizing that she did not feel any pain at all. In the past, she would feel pain when she hit others. She hit them for more than a minute. Guo Yingying was a little tired and sat on the ground, letting out a long sigh. Little brat, you dare to touch me, come! Weren't you showing off just now? Lord Tiger, who had been beaten for a long time, was filled with anger. He was actually beaten up. He was someone with 70 million points. One must know that it was not easy to have 70 million points in the ancestral dragon clan. He had also endured for 100 years and accumulated it bit by bit. Normally, Dodo didn't dare to spend as much as he wanted so that his status in the clan would become higher and higher. He was actually being beaten now. Little girl, you're courting death. Lord Tiger swung his hand and slapped out, but before he could even touch Guo Yingying, he was pushed back. You, at that moment, Lord Hu knew she had points. At least 140 million. You really dare to hit me? Guo Yingying looked at his big hand and subconsciously shrank her neck in fear. Unexpectedly, he couldn't hit himself. Immediately, Guo Yingying grinned and jumped up to give him a kick. Dong! Lord Tiger was kicked to the ground. The loud roar caused many people in the restaurant to run out. They also saw the scene of Tiger Lord lying in the vegetable basket with vegetable leaves on his head. Tiger Lord! Stand there, I want to see who dares to move. Guo Yingying shouted with her hands on her hips, but those people did not listen to her at all. Still moving, Guo Yingying raised her hand and slapped him. The person who was slapped felt his head buzzing. You're his lackey, right? You're the one who made me wash so many dishes every day, right? You're the one who bullied me, right? Guo Yingying was definitely taking revenge now. Her small hands slapped left and right, and the person's mouth was full of blood. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. What was going on? How did this girl suddenly become so powerful? Who else bullied me before? Do it yourself, don't force me to do it myself. Guo Yingying suddenly took out the point crystal and revealed her point. 2 billion. In the end, there was still more than 30 yuan left, which she earned from her part-time job. Everyone in the restaurant was dumbfounded when they saw the long row of numbers. Lord Tiger was the same. When he saw Guo Yingying's points, he almost fainted. How did he get such a god? No, if she really had so many points, why did she come here to suffer? Could it be a Lord Tiger looked at Blue Lotus Fairy in confusion? She gave it to him? What are you looking at me for? Have you thought about how you're going to die? Blue Lotus Fairy squinted her eyes at Lord Tiger. You guessed right, I also have several billion points. Do you believe that I'll kill you? Gulp. Tiger Lord swallowed his saliva. I was wrong, I was wrong. Wrong? Blue Lotus Fairy snorted coldly and walked in front of him, then snatched the point crystal. It's mine. Is there a problem? Lord Tiger moved his lips and looked at Blue Lotus Fairy's gaze. No, and you guys, who bullied my darling disciple, throw down the point crystal, I can guarantee that you guys won't die. Whoever doesn't, kill you. Blue Lotus Fairy said softly with a cold gaze. Actually, she was inspired by Yi Zichen. So useful. Just because he had a lot of points, he would act like a tyrant and rob whoever he saw. Isn't that awesome? What's more, the ancestral dragon clan's points didn't have a password, they belonged to whoever had it. She really wondered, why did this Lord Tiger open a restaurant? He should just go and rob. What she didn't know was that she might have forgotten that robbery was illegal. If someone reported him, he would go to jail and all of his points would be confiscated. Hearing that, Guo Yingying's expression instantly tensed up. As expected of my esteemed master. She actually thought of this sort of method to steal points. She instantly put her hands on her hip. Hand it all over. Give it to me. I'll kill whoever doesn't. Thus, a pair of point robbers began their robbery in the restaurant. Half an hour later, so poor. Guo Yingying looked at the point stones piled in front of her. She stole all of the other waiters' points, but in the end, she didn't even have 500,000. The most valuable one was Lord Tiger's, which was taken away by Blue Lotus Fairy. Little disciple, you're still too inexperienced. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled proudly. Blue Lotus Fairy smiles proudly. At this time, the tall and sturdy man who was beaten black and blue walks over with a tray of food. You too, please enjoy. F***ck off. Guo Yingying frowned. Lord Tiger quickly ran away with a bow. Esteemed master. The food here is quite delicious. I used to eat a lot of leftovers here. It's so fragrant. Guo Yingying made her move. At this moment, a familiar figure had appeared in the restaurant at some point in time. He was sitting at the entrance with a smile on his face as he silently watched them. Disciple. Stop eating. Get ready to run. Blue Lotus Fairy pulled Guo Yingying, who was eating heartily, and said softly. Guo Yingying was startled. Blue Lotus Fairy coughed lightly and said. Stop it, let's run. Why are you running? Can't you run after eating? Suddenly, Blue Lotus Fairy heard a soft voice. Then, she saw Yi Zichen sit opposite her with a smile and press down on her hand. Don't rush, eat slowly. Chapter 2854. Not bad at all. Yi Zichen had been in the ancestral dragon clan for less than a month. Including Zhu Yunshi last time, Yi Zichen had been switched twice. In comparison, last time was a bit better, but it was only 900,000. This time, it was 4.5 billion. In order to get back his points, he used the power of his godhead to search for Blue Lotus Fairy in the city. Very lucky. The fairy didn't run too far away. She was only 20 minutes away from the hotel they were staying in. Eat slowly. Yi Zichen's eyes flashed with a smile. However, there was a hint of threat in his smile. Why? Why did you come here? Blue Lotus Fairy smiled coyly. How could I not come? I missed you. Yi Zichen smiled, and spoke in a gentle tone as if he was talking to his lover. Who is he? Guo Yingying looked at Yi Zichen in confusion for a long time. Are you my esteemed master's pursuer? More or less, I am indeed pursuing her, Yi Zichen nodded. Actually, he wasn't wrong. He was indeed pursuing. His point crystal was stolen by this woman, so he had to get it back. Wow! Guo Yingying smiled discreetly. Kid, your courage is commendable. You truly have a heavy taste to be able to fall for my esteemed master. Blue Lotus Fairy tilted her head and looked at Guo Yingying for a while. What do you mean? How did he fall for her become a heavy taste? What's more, she knew very well that Yi Zichen wasn't referring to pursuing. I can't help it. Your esteemed master has some things that I can't forget. Yi Zichen shrugged helplessly. Yi Zichen shrugged helplessly, while Guo Yingying glared at him. Her face burned with the flames of gossip, as if she wanted to light the entire restaurant on fire. You too, Guo Yingying touched her fingers with a suggestive gaze. Eat what you want. Blue Lotus Fairy signaled Guo Yingying not to say anything, but Guo Yingying kept peeking at Yi Zichen's hand. She purposely made fun of him. You eat too, Yi Zichen smiled warmly. If you don't eat your fill, then how are you going to run? Don't let me catch you. Inexplicably, Guo Yingying felt that something was wrong. Run? That's right. Just now, her master also told her to stop eating and run away. Master? This person is looking for trouble. Yi Zichen chuckled. Why are you so quiet? Are you afraid of other people finding out? I'm here to cause trouble. What's wrong? Can't I cause trouble after stealing my point stones? Steal point stones? Guo Yingying frowned. Little sister, you don't know, right? Your master has a 4.5 billion credit stone. I want it. Yi Zichen rubbed his nose, then shook his head with a long sigh. You really can't judge a person's heart from his face. He's rather good-looking, and he's a universal idol. Say, how could he do something like that? Blue Lotus deity, I've treated you well. How could you do such a thing? No, Guo Yingying was stunned. Master, your points were stolen. Aya, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's a trade, Blue Lotus deity smiled. Blue Lotus Fairy chuckled. Yi Zichen also nodded, yeah, trade. Use 50,000 points to trade for 4.5 billion. Blue Lotus deity, your trade is really good. It's alright, Blue Lotus Fairy squints her eyes and smiles. Those that I have used before, can generally be promoted many times over. How about you go and trade with other Her Eminences? They would definitely be willing to pay a high price for it. Can you give me 5 billion? Not necessarily, Blue Lotus deity giggled. I might be able to give you 5 billion. Wow, so valuable. Yi Zichen pretended to be surprised. Yi Zichen pretended to be shocked, causing Guo Yingying's face to scrunch up. Blue Lotus, what's going on? Didn't you say that you won all these points at the gambling table? So it really was at the gambling table, Yi Zichen confirmed. She was kidnapped in the gambling house, and I was the one who saved her. Then, I had to pay 50,000 a day to hire her as a private tutor, but Lil sis, there's a huge problem with your esteemed master. What do you want? Guo Yingying frowned. What do you think? Guo Yingying thought for a moment, then frowned. That's not right. What's not right? Don't spout nonsense. Guo Yingying suddenly pointed at Yi Zichen. You said that my esteemed master used 50,000 credit points to trade for 5 billion. Do you have any proof? Also, what right do you have to say that my esteemed master stole your points? Are you trying to frame me? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. No, Guo Yingying, have always been a reasonable person. If it's yours, then I'll give it to you. But you're just saying that, so why should I believe you? My esteemed master has been with me for so long. Should I not believe her? Should I believe you? Guo Yingying's righteous words had some truth to them. Ask your esteemed master. Tell her not to go against her conscience. See if she can say that the points are hers, Yi Zichen shrugged. Make her swear on her soul. Esteemed master? These points, Blue Lotus Fairy stuttered. If it was any other time, she would have said it shamelessly. However, swearing on her soul was no joke. See? She can't say it. Yi Zichen sighed as he looked at Guo Yingying, then turned back to look at Blue Lotus Fairy. Blue Lotus, you're quite an old pickpocket. Some people are idols on the surface, but are actually pickpockets. You've done plenty of thieving, right? I actually didn't feel anything when you stole my point stones. Blue Lotus Fairy smiled coyly. To be honest, it was her first time stealing. As for why there were so many methods, she had met a professional pickpocket before. He had taken care of many titled level experts in the universe, and one time, he had his eyes on Blue Lotus Fairy. He was caught by Blue Lotus Fairy. Blue Lotus Fairy didn't do anything to him. She only felt that his methods were very miraculous, so she specially learned from him for several months. This time, she used it on Yi Zichen. Although she hadn't tried it for a long time, she didn't notice. Take it out. Yi Zichen frowned. Don't force me to fight you. Take it out my ass. All of a sudden, Guo Yingying slammed the table with her hand. What are you so pleased with us for? You don't even have any points, so you came to us to ask for it? How funny! Come and get it yourself if you can. With that, Guo Yingying frowned towards Blue Lotus Fairy. What are you afraid of him for? We have several billion in our hands. Does he have several tens of billions? He can't beat the two of us. Blue Lotus Fairy, who was originally hesitant, instantly became confident. Yeah. The points were in her hands. She had the initiative. What was she afraid of? Then, Blue Lotus Fairy revealed a disdainful smile. Scram. You're showing off in front of me with points? Do you believe that I won't kill you? Chapter 2855. I almost forgot. This was the ancestral dragon clan. Whoever had more points would be the boss. It didn't matter if you were strong or not. Points were the symbol of your strength. Or was it because the time he spent in the ancestral dragon tribe was too short? He subconsciously thought that it was the human race universe. That's not right. I'm not afraid of him even if it's the human race universe. Blue Lotus Fairy muttered to herself. She was a human supreme expert. Even Yi Zichen's position wasn't low. He was a Milky Way lord. Master was the master of the Milky Way. He also had Wen Li and the Blue Emperor as his backers. So what? They couldn't possibly kill him. What a joke. All of a sudden, Blue Lotus Fairy felt a lot more confident. She looked at Yi Zichen with disdain, then lowered her head and continued to eat. She was fearless. This dish is pretty good, Blue Lotus Fairy nodded in surprise after tasting a mouthful. Yi Zichen couldn't help but laugh when he saw that the master and disciple really didn't care about him at all. What surprised him the most was Guo Yingying. At first, this little girl thought that she was quite reasonable and a good little girl. It was a pity that she met an evil master. He was wondering if he should save her. Alright. As expected of the saying, if you aren't a family, you won't enter the same door. At the very least, Fairy Blue Lotus felt a little guilty. This little brat really doesn't treat herself as a human at all. What are you looking at? Guo Yingying glared at him like an angry little tiger. I'll gouge out your eyeballs if you keep looking. Stop being an eyesore here. Little girl, your mouth is so poisonous. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes. You're not satisfied? Guo Yingying coldly snorted. Little trash, don't provoke this great aunt, okay? I can do whatever I want to you in the Ancestral Dragon Clan, but it's even easier to kill you outside of the Ancestral Dragon Clan. It's like killing an ant. Do you understand? TSK. Yi Zichen couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder as he looked at the little girl in front of him, who was only around 10 years old. He was truly curious just what kind of family could raise a child like her. TSK. Guo Yingying glared at him. Fine, I won't. I just want to ask these points. You're not going to exchange them back, are you? Yi Zichen tilted his head. Hurry up and get lost. Guo Yingying shrugged. Can't you figure it out yourself? If it was you, would you give it to him? Since you can't do anything to us, why should we give it to you? Are we stupid? Yes, that makes sense. Yi Zichen wrinkled his nose and nodded. He didn't say anything, and merely sat down on the chair opposite them to watch them eat. You still, Guo Yingying was a little curious and a little angry, but she quickly suppressed it. Forget it, I'll let you sit here. Thank you. Yi Zichen smiled gratefully as he watched the master and disciple eat without any hesitation. The deliciousness of the food caused Yi Zichen to feel hungry. An entire hour passed, only then did Guo Yingying let out a satisfied burp and wiped her mouth with her hand in a slovenly manner. Master, let's go. During that time, they didn't even glance at Yi Zichen. Yi Zichen didn't say anything and remained seated. Until, dong. Guo Yingying, who was walking in front, suddenly bumped into an energy barrier just as she was about to step out of the door. He took 4 or 5 steps back. She stopped and frowned at the door in front of her. She reached out and touched it. Seal. Guo Yingying muttered, then turned around and shouted towards the restaurant. That cook. Hey, Lord who was beaten up quite badly, ran over. What do you mean? You're not letting us go? And no, Lord Hu shook his head. How could I dare to not let you guys go? To be honest, he really wanted these 2 ancestors to hurry up and leave. Then what's going on? Guo Yingying took another step forward, but the energy barrier was still there. Fairy Blue Lotus also touched it with her hand. You 2 ate so much, you should at least pay the bill, right? Yi Zichen tilted his head and muttered. It isn't easy for them to do business. You little trash, you're still here, Guo Yingying exclaimed as if she had just noticed. Little girl, watch your words. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and frowned towards her. I don't like children who don't know manners. Perhaps no one taught you when you were young. If you insist on showing off in front of me, then I don't mind teaching you a lesson in place of your parents. Do you understand? You dare to talk to me like that? Guo Yingying ran over and slapped Yi Zichen. She grabbed it. Yi Zichen continued to squint his eyes and tilted his head towards Guo Yingying. Who taught you that? You want to hit people so easily? He actually grabbed it. Lord Hu and the others in the restaurant were shocked. This, they saw with their own eyes that Guo Yingying had 2 billion points, and the person sitting there was able to grab her wrist so easily. Does that mean that he also has more than 2 billion points? What's going on today? You can't even see big shots with more than 100 million points even once a year. Why did 3 of them come to the restaurant? Guo Yingying glared at him. Little girl, I don't really like hitting women and children. Don't make me hit you, understand? Yi Zichen's eyes were filled with coldness. Sit down. Guo Yingying pursed her lips and looked at the side of Yi Zichen's face, then silently sat down beside him. Even after Yi Zichen let go of her, she still peeked. Come, Blue Lotus. Yi Zichen waved his hand towards Blue Lotus Fairy. Since we can't get out, let's sit down and chat? Yet, at that moment, Blue Lotus Fairy also panicked. She and Guo Yingying had about the same amount of points. Since Yi Zichen was able to catch Guo Yingying, then he definitely could catch her as well. Didn't they say that whoever had more points was the big shot in the ancestral dragon clan? Could it be, he has several billion points on him? Blue Lotus Fairy was completely stunned when she thought of that possibility. Come, do you want me to do it myself? Yi Zichen muttered softly. Blue Lotus Fairy gulped, then walked in front of him. Milky Way Lord. Look, it's actually all a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Yi Zichen nodded with a smile, then smashed the table. Blue Lotus Fairy's throat moved up and down. If that's the case, then the misunderstanding between us is very deep, don't you think? I'll return the points to you. Blue Lotus Fairy didn't even think before putting the point stone on the table. At that moment, all she wanted to do was make peace. Since she already earned 80 million, it didn't matter if she didn't get the 4.5 billion. As long as she had the basics of making money, she wouldn't have to worry about not having enough points in the future. So what if you know now? Yi Zichen laughed. Didn't you want to kill me just now? Come, why don't you try and kill me now? Chapter 2856. All right. Thank you for your hard work. Liberation City, in front of a barbecue stall, a man in a long robe with his hair tied up to his waist smiled and nodded at the stall owner. How many points do you need? No need, consider it a gift from me. The stall owner smiled brightly. Is that okay? Go ahead. Thank you. The man with the long braids squinted his eyes and nodded. However, he still placed a coin on the stall before leaving. Auntie, that Mr. left something for you. The other vendors saw the reminder. At this moment, the barbecue stall owner looked ahead subconsciously. Points coin. Worth 100. Only the Heaven and Earth Trading Company sold these coins. It was said that the trading company had developed this currency for convenience. If one wanted to store it, one only needed to bring the coins to the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. The internal staff of the trading firm would then store the corresponding points in a designated point stone. This should be the Heaven and Earth Trading Company's points coin. This Mr. is really a good person. He always comes to take care of our business. He's also very generous and never haggles with us. That's right. Most importantly, he's always smiling. If only he's from our ancestral dragon race. I'll definitely marry my daughter to him. Unfortunately, I heard that he's from the human universe. He's an overlord, I think. An overlord is amazing. I heard that an overlord is about the same level as our heroic guards here. Is that so? The peddlers were all talking at once, and without exception, they were all praising the man just now. Life here is really easy. The man holding the barbecue muttered softly. He was the overlord of the human race. He came to the ancestral dragon race because he was invited. However, he seemed to have fallen in love with the ancestral dragon race. There were no conflicts like in the universe. The entire city was quiet and peaceful. He would take a walk every morning, buy breakfast and go back to read for a while. At night, he would buy some barbecue and some wine. He loved this feeling. If he could, he felt that he could live here for the rest of his life without getting sick of it. Just as he was about to return to his residence, his eyebrows suddenly sank, and then he revealed a smile. God force. Could it be that my colleagues have also come here? That's really too rash. If others were to find out about this, they would definitely be killed. The man muttered softly. Just then, a woman walked over from afar. Mr. Kim, are you buying barbecue again? Yes, can you please put it in front of my house? I suddenly remembered that I have something urgent to deal with. Why don't you bring it back to my place? You can come to my place to get it, the woman said with a gentle smile. Sorry to trouble you. From the beginning to the end, the man's face was surrounded by a refreshing smile. Then, he sighed and looked into the distance. It's better to go and remind him. Really, why do I always like to get involved in such troublesome matters? The man with the long braids scratched his head and disappeared at the end of the street. Fairy Blue Lotus, you have truly disappointed me. Yi Zichen shook his head with a sigh. My friend really likes you so much. I didn't think that I'll return you the points. Blue Lotus Fairy is like a student who did something wrong, lowering her head and pursing her lip. The purpose of coming here was to accumulate points. Yi Zichen looked at her for a moment, then did not say anything else. He held the point stone in his hand. 2.5 billion? What's going on? Before Yi Zichen finished, Guo Yingying also placed the point stone onto the table. Blue Lotus Fairy stared at her in shock. This stupid student. Why did she take out the point stone? It's here. Guo Yingying pursed her lips and stared at Yi Zichen's face with her bright eyes. Yi Zichen raised his hand and held the point stone. 2 billion. Wow, Fairy Blue Lotus, you actually thought of splitting the points. It seems like you knew that I would be able to catch you? Yi Zichen tilted his head. Since you knew that I would catch you, then why did you still do that? Blue Lotus Fairy pursed her lips and did not know what to say. Never mind, I can't be bothered with you. Give me the point stone in your pocket. Yi Zichen pointed at Blue Lotus Fairy's pocket. Ah! All of a sudden, Blue Lotus Fairy's expression turned terrible. That's the money I used to get rich. How did he know? How did Yi Zichen know? He naturally saw it with his fiery eyes of truth and divine power. She did such a terrible thing. How could I not punish her at all? I must make her realize her mistake, and make her remember it deeply. Only then can I guarantee that she won't do it again. This is mine, I want it. Can you give it to me? Yi Zichen tilted his head and asked softly. I'll give it to you. It was Guo Yingying again. She took out a pile of credit stones from her pocket. Big brother, these are all for you. At that moment, Guo Yingying had a very obedient look on her face, completely different from her earlier arrogant self. If it wasn't for the fact that everything had happened just a few minutes ago, Yi Zichen felt like she was an obedient baby. Why are you giving it to me? I don't want it. Don't you need points? Although it's not much, I'll give it all to you. Guo Yingying pursed her lips, while a hint of shyness appeared in her eyes. What's going on? Yi Zichen was completely confused by Guo Yingying. Do you have a split personality? What's a split personality? Guo Yingying's eyes were filled with confusion. She tilted her head. I don't understand what you mean. Big brother, can you explain it to me? She's too hard. Yi Zichen started to doubt his life due to her innocent gaze. Is she really the same person? Yi Zichen let out a deep sigh, then did not say anything else to Guo Yingying. However, he did not take his point crystals either. Instead, he turned around and looked towards Blue Lotus Fairy. Give it to me. Didn't I give my disciple to you? I want it from you. Yi Zichen frowned. Hurry up, Blue Lotus Fairy. If I punch you, your delicate face will probably turn green. I'll just give it to you. Blue Lotus Fairy angrily chucked the crystal over. Ziziz, that's quite a bit. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows when he saw the points. 80 million. No wonder it hurts so much. Thank you, Blue Lotus Fairy. Big brother, I'll give my points to you as well. Guo Yingying reminded Yi Zichen to take her point. No, little sister. Are you all right? Yi Zichen looked at Guo Yingying with a frown. You, big brother, just take it. Guo Yingying grabbed the point crystals and stuffed them into Yi Zichen's arms. Blue Lotus Fairy felt like her heart was bleeding. This silly disciple. Just what does she want to do? These points are for us to survive. Chapter 2857. Blue Lotus Fairy was Guo Yingying's master, but she didn't understand. Yi Zichen was even more confused. He stared at Guo Yingying, dumbfounded, as she stuffed the point stone into his clothes. Her resolute attitude made him feel like something was up. This isn't AF King Bomb, is it? She wants to blow me up. Big brother, the ancestral dragon clan isn't my territory. When we return to the human race, I'll give you whatever you want. Guo Yingying's eyes brimmed with sincerity. Yi Zichen could even faintly make out twinkling stars. When she saw this, Blue Lotus Fairy couldn't help but be stunned. It can't be. How old is she? You. Yi Zichen took a deep breath and looked at the girl in front of him. His mind was filled with countless questions. Big brother, can I follow you? Guo Yingying's eyes flashed. What are you following me for? I'll be very good, Guo Yingying said seriously. Don't worry, I'll definitely listen to you. I definitely won't make you angry. Take pity on me and let me follow you. As she spoke, Guo Yingying's tears dripped down her cheeks. Big brother, I'm actually so pitiful. Ever since I came to the ancestral dragon clan, I've never had enough to eat or wear. I've been a slave in this restaurant. Look, I've succeeded. Guo Yingying raised her tender, white hands, her eyes brimming with tears. It wasn't anything special. It was still smooth and tender. If there was any light, it would practically sparkle. I'm only 11. But I'm shouldering a burden my age shouldn't be shouldering. I'm so tired. Big brother, you're definitely a kind person. You definitely won't abandon me, right? Guo Yingying's face was filled with pleading. Her voice was choked with sobs, and she couldn't stop her tears from flowing. To tell the truth, Yi Zichen's heart softened a bit. It's not like you can't follow me. Yi Zichen's attitude softened somewhat. In any case, we're all humans. There's no harm in helping each other. Wow, big brother, you're the best. Guo Yingying wrapped her arms around Yi Zichen's neck and kissed his cheek. After the kiss, the girl's face was as red as a tomato. She lowered her head and pursed her lips. My God! It couldn't be true, right? Blue Lotus Fairy's mind was in turmoil. This little girl. His heart was moved. How could this be? Fairy Blue Lotus recalled what happened just now. At the very beginning, Guo Yingying's attitude was very firm, and with her princess temperament, her state at that time was indeed in line with her character. The turning point of everything, Yi Zichen had grabbed her hand and lectured her in a threatening tone. A threat? Could it be this threat? Back in the human race, she was the apple of great Emperor Guo's eye. He meant what he said. No one dared to defy her. Even great Emperor Guo had no status in front of her. As for Blue Lotus Fairy, several times, great Emperor Guo knelt on the ground, allowing Guo Yingying to climb around the castle on his back. As for the servants, she was also at his beck and call. She had never been scolded before. Did Yi Zichen's scolding and threats make me feel his manliness? This was too melodramatic. If I knew that Guo Yingying was such a masochist, I would have beaten her up a long time ago. Beat her up so much. Wouldn't I get whatever I want? I don't dare to speak about anything else, but with great Emperor Guo's status and strength, he might have a Genesis divine artifact. He definitely has a set of ancient heavenly deity artifacts. When she came, Guo Yingying, a girl who had not even reached the domain level, wore a full set of heavenly deity artifacts. Both the Soul Divine Artifact and Defensive Divine Artifact were ancient heavenly deity artifacts. What made Blue Lotus Fairy envious, she wanted to just snatch it and run. Yi Zichen looked at Guo Yingying in confusion after being kissed. However, he didn't think too much about it, and merely treated it as a way for the girl to express her joy. Blue Lotus Fairy. Here. Blue Lotus Fairy, who was still immersed in shock, quickly nodded with her eyes wide open. To be honest, I'm very angry about you exchanging the point stones. I know, Blue Lotus Fairy nodded. Fairy Blue Lotus vigorously nodded her head. I've already deeply understood the severity of my mistake, and also realized how terrible my actions were. If the heavens are willing to give me another chance, I will still do it. Huh. No, I won't do that. Blue Lotus Fairy hurriedly changed her words as she muttered in her heart, why did I say out my inner thoughts? Facing this shameless woman, to tell the truth, Yi Zichen didn't find it strange at all that she'd said something wrong. She could really do it. Moreover, after she was done, she would run far away. She would never make the same mistake again. Fortunately, the point calculating stone is back. Fairy Blue Lotus, you should thank yourself for allowing me to chase you back on that day. If I had caught you later, I would have definitely left you with an unforgettable memory. Yi Zichen muttered softly. Blue Lotus Fairy placed her hands on her lap. His eyes were filled with a serious look as he nodded. I was wrong. Just now, your apprentice wanted to leave with me. We're both humans, and I really can't bear to see you two continue like this. I'm still willing to hire you, murmured Yi Zichen. Really? Blue Lotus Fairy appeared surprised. She'd already been prepared not to be hired, but Yi Zichen really was, no. Did he deserve to be a good person? Just how many days would she have to work as a private tutor to earn back that 80 million yuan? Thinking of this, he suddenly felt angry. Lan He, calm down. The person sitting in front of you isn't some kind-hearted guy. It was a demon. Fortunately, being able to hire him again was a blessing in disguise. At least a guaranteed basic income. 30,000 a day, do you want to do it? Huh. Blue Lotus Fairy paused for a moment. Didn't we say before he could finish his sentence? She saw Yi Zichen's unfriendly gaze. No problem. It's good enough that you have something to do. You still want to haggle? Think about it. You're burdened with sin. I've already been merciful enough, you know? Yi Zichen curled his lips. Yes, Big Brother is right. Guo Yingying agreed. If you don't have anything else to say, then come home with me. I have a few friends who are also your fans. If it weren't for them, you wouldn't even have earned 30,000 yuan. Yi Zichen snorted coldly. Blue Lotus Fairy coughed. Then my 50,000-point stone can, no. Roar, Blue Lotus Fairy twitched her mouth silently. I've suffered a double loss. I didn't spend a single point, and I lost 50,000 instead. What's more, I lost 20,000 from my salary. This is too difficult. Not long after they left, Lord Hu sat in the restaurant in despair as he watched the waiters clean up the table. At that moment, a person with a long braid walked in. He did not say anything, and merely looked around the restaurant in silence. Did I come late? What a shame, I might as well have just eaten barbecue. The barbecue might be cold by the time I get back. Chapter 2858. What did Yi Zi do? Everyone in the hotel looked at him worriedly. Yi Zichen had left in a hurry, so no one was able to react in time. When they chased after him, he was gone. They couldn't see him at all. He said he went to look for points. Meng Luo pursed her lips. The great deity can't really have a few billion, right? Then it was stolen by the ancestral dragon clan. He stole it again? Bai Yu was the angriest out of everyone when it was mentioned. If they really dare to do that again, then they've really crossed the line. Even though Bai Yu didn't say anything threatening, it was clear from her tone and expression that she was very sensitive towards this sort of thing. Last time, Zhu Yunshi Bai Yu swore on his soul that he would take Zhu Yunshi's life when he took their points while passing through the black hole. From that, it could be seen that she had no tolerance for it at all. I don't think it's possible. If the ancestral dragon clan still did that, then they are clearly targeting us. Su Luer, who rarely spoke, crossed her arms and muttered. Su Luer, who rarely spoke, crossed her arms and muttered. Even if the ancestral dragon clan really does have a grudge against us, they can't make the same mistake twice. That's inevitable. If they really did that, then I can only say that the mastermind is rather stupid. I agree with Lu Urjia. Hua Jianro nodded. Let's wait for Yi Zichen to come back and see. If it really was the ancestral dragon clan, then there's no need for us to get along with them. Since we're already here, we can just ask them what they want with the army behind them. Everyone nodded. Only the flame rat. He was still watching the programs projected on the virtual network, as if nothing mattered to him. You're still watching? Hua Jianro slapped him on the back of the head. At that moment, the flame rat came back to his senses and looked at everyone in the room. What happened? What? Your big brother Yi was captured by the ancestral dragon clan. You still have the face to watch the show? Hua Jianro purposely scared him. What? In a split second, the flame rat stood up, not caring about how charming the Blue Lotus Fairy in the entertainment program was. Then what are you waiting for? Save the god. You still know how to save the great god? Aren't you just staring at that Blue Lotus Fairy? You're drooling all over the floor. Don't you have any shame? Hua Jianro curled her lip. Hey, that's not important. The flame rat glared at him. Hurry up and contact the people. Have you informed the clan? I'll contact my mother now and ask her to send someone over. All right. Seeing that the flame rat was really going to look for someone, Hua Jianro smiled and pulled her back. What happened? The flame rat frowned. Why did the ancestral dragon clan capture the great god? Did you ask for the reason? Why didn't you stop them? I didn't capture you. Your sister Hua was just scaring you. Bai Yu laughed and said, We just saw that you were watching entertainment programs and didn't care about anything else, so we wanted to scare you. Not bad, you pass. You even know that Yi Zichen is more important than the Blue Lotus Fairy in the entertainment program. Really? Really? Only then did the flame rat let out a long sigh and sit down. At that moment, he was truly shocked by what Hua Jianro and the others said. The great god was actually captured. The moment they arrived at the ancestral dragon clan, they knew that the ancestral dragon clan was targeting them. It was very possible that it was a personal grudge. The Milky Way Master had put the ancestral dragon tribe on the spot. Others in the universe might not know about this, but families like the flame rats naturally knew about it. If the great god was captured, they might take revenge. The great god was kind to the flame rat. In the second universe, Yi Zichen had saved his life multiple times. How could he not be worried? Don't use this kind of thing to scare me in the future. I really care about the great god getting into an accident, the flame rat sighed. The great god cares, but you don't care about us? You're all the same. The flame rat sat in the living room and muttered. Everyone in our group is very important to me, including Su Yan and Xia Kiki, who came later. We're all in the same group, so I'm very worried if anyone is missing. Then if you had to choose between Blue Lotus Fairy and us, who would you choose? Hua Jianro smiled. It's definitely you guys. The flame rat replied without hesitation. I can't even look at Blue Lotus Fairy. No matter how stupid I am, I wouldn't choose her, right? What if you could see her? Impossible. The flame rat twitched his mouth. It wasn't that he didn't want to meet Blue Lotus Fairy, but even with his identity, he couldn't even get her contact information. All he could do was watch entertainment programs. I'll just treat it as chasing idols on the internet. Flame Rat, the great god, said he knows Blue Lotus Fairy. Meng Luo pursed her lips and muttered. Really? The Flame Rat exclaimed. Really? And the great god also said that he's Blue Lotus Fairy's leader. Blue Lotus Fairy will even come to our hotel. The Flame Rat's eyes were filled with shock. The great god actually has such a wide social circle? Leader? Flame Rat, if I let you choose again, what will you choose? Hua Jianro also joked. Heh, trying to trick me. The Flame Rat twitched his mouth in his heart. He guessed that it was definitely Meng Luo and Hua Jianro trying to trick him again. During this period of time, his desire to live had skyrocketed. Such a crude excuse. I'll choose you guys. The flame rat said righteously. Even if Blue Lotus Fairy is standing in front of me right now, I will still choose you guys. You guys are my playmates since I was young. If I don't choose you guys, who else can I choose? I'll tell you this, even if Blue Lotus Fairy really comes, I won't even look at her. Wow! Hua Jianrou couldn't help but reveal an expression of shock at the righteous reply. At that moment, the sound of footsteps sounded out from outside the hotel. Not long later, the door to the room was opened and Yi Zichen walked in. Great God! Yi Zi! Lord! Everyone in the room came over. Not long later, a little lowly walked in. Hello, I'm Guo Yingying. Guo Yingying waved her hand with a smile, causing everyone in the room to be stunned. This is, I picked her up outside. Yi Zichen sighed with a shrug, then smiled. Yi Zichen shrugged and let out a long sigh, then smiled. Oh yeah, let me formally introduce someone to everyone here. Who? Is there anyone else? Su Yan looked outside with a frown, while Meng Luo smiled in surprise. It can't be Blue Lotus Fairy, right? Blue Lotus Fairy? The flame rat, who stood on the side, was stunned. Just when he thought that it was impossible, come in. Yi Zichen laughed softly, then Blue Lotus Fairy walked in and waved her hand. Hello. Hello, I am Blue Lotus Fairy. Chapter 2859. Hello everyone, I am Flame Rat. I came from a good background, born in a big family. Since young, I didn't have to worry about food and clothing, enjoying the best cultivation resources in the human universe. I could get whatever I wanted. Although my parents were strict with me, they would satisfy my wishes. I felt very happy. Until I saw an entertainment program. This program was recommended to me by my playmate, Meng Luo. She said that she liked a big sister. I was curious. What kind of person could make the little princess like her to such an extent? I went to take a look, and then I was mesmerized. I stayed at home for half a year, watching all of her programs and interviews. But this made me feel even more empty inside. I wanted to see her. It wasn't for anything else. He just wanted to take a look at her and get an autographed photo. Then, I used my family's power. I failed. That's right, with my family's power, I couldn't even get an autograph, much less meet Blue Lotus Fairy. I was annoyed. Then, I found out that this Blue Lotus Fairy wasn't just an idol of the human race. She was also an honorable one. No wonder my family couldn't let her meet me. I felt relieved. I tried to forget about it and just peacefully be a fan of my idol. I didn't expect that I would like Blue Lotus Fairy more and more. Just now, I faced a problem. Meng Luo and Hua Jianrou asked me, if I had to choose between Blue Lotus Fairy and them, who would I choose? I didn't need to think about it. Blue Lotus Fairy. But I knew that I couldn't say that. If I said that, I would definitely be beaten up by them. I had a will to live, so I lied. I wanted to. I just had to brush off the problem in front of me. Anyway, I couldn't see Blue Lotus Fairy, so it wasn't a big deal to make such a choice. Even if Meng Luo reminded me that the Almighty knew Blue Lotus Fairy. Blue Lotus Fairy's leader. I scoffed in my heart. It wasn't that I didn't doubt the Almighty's ability, but I felt that Meng Luo was lying to me. Moreover, the studio behind Blue Lotus Fairy had been established for 1,000 years. It couldn't be related to the Almighty. After I used my wisdom to see through all of this, I resolutely gave my answer. In order to satisfy them. In order to give me extra credit for answering, I even said some harsh words. Even if Fairy Blue Lotus really stood in front of me, I would not say a single word to her. He was just that tough. Afterwards, I saw satisfaction and gratitude in Hua Jianrou's expression. I was really impressed by my own intelligence. Unfortunately, I had never imagined that retribution would come so soon. Fairy Blue Lotus had arrived. I gawked at Blue Lotus Fairy who was standing at the door. This was indeed Blue Lotus Fairy. As a fan of hers for many years, every frown and frown of hers are deeply imprinted in my mind. I am sure that this is the real body. This was my first time seeing Fairy Blue Lotus with my own eyes. Moreover, she was standing less than 2 meters away from me. I really want to rush up and ask for an autograph. If they could shake hands, I can die without regrets. Unfortunately, I had only said those words for less than 10 seconds. If I go now, Hua Jianrou and Meng Luo will mock me for the rest of my life. Men. Face is very important. I decided to endure it. Wow, it really is Fairy Blue Lotus. Meng Luo was the first to rush up in surprise. It could be seen that she was truly excited. She pursed her lips. She placed her hands by her sides and rubbed the corner of her clothes nervously. Hello. Fairy Blue Lotus, I'm your fan. I especially like you. I've watched all of your entertainment programs and bought all of your albums. It's just a bit unfortunate. My clan doesn't let me go out. I didn't even go to your concert. Meng Luo lowered her head with a depressed expression. Thank you. Fairy Blue Lotus rubbed her head with a smile, then grabbed her hand. Do you need an autograph? I can give it to you. Can I? Of course. Fairy Blue Lotus's eyes were filled with a smile. Where do you want to sign it? I have to put it on. All right. This was something that they had discussed before coming. Yi Zichen promised to give her 50,000 points for an autograph. Actually, Yi Zichen did this purely to give Meng Luo and company face. He knew that Meng Luo liked Fairy Blue Lotus a lot. Thus, he notified Fairy Blue Lotus in advance and told her to cooperate well. As long as she performed well, there would be a special reward. Whoosh. Thus, Fairy Blue Lotus signed her name on Meng Luo's jacket. Wow, Fairy Blue Lotus's personal autograph. Meng Luo jumped around in the room in surprise. At this moment, Fairy Blue Lotus looked towards the others. Do you guys need autographs? Handshakes, hugs. Anything is fine. I want a hug. Meng Luo, who just ran out, ran back hurriedly and leaped into Fairy Blue Lotus's arms. From start to finish, Fairy Blue Lotus maintained a warm smile. 100,000. Hello, Fairy Blue Lotus, I'm also your fan. Hua Jianrou also pursed her lips and walked over. Practically everyone in the room gathered around Fairy Blue Lotus. Great deity, you really know Fairy Blue Lotus. Meng Luo's eyes were filled with surprise after getting an autograph and a hug. Of course. Yi Zichen shrugged with a smile. Then will Fairy Blue Lotus come often in the future? She will stay with us from now on. Really? Yeah. Actually, Yi Zichen was only excited when they just met. What was an idol? Only those that couldn't be had were idols. If one wanted to be an idol, then one had to maintain a suitable distance with their fans. If they interacted too much, then they would be friends. Then there wouldn't be a problem of whether they were idols or not. Idols and fans needed to keep their distance. From Yi Zichen's estimations, they, the fans of Fairy Blue Lotus, would see everything as normal in less than a week. AI, why isn't the flame rat moving? Yi Zichen looked at the silent flame rat with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Flame rat, don't you like Fairy Blue Lotus a lot as well? Go and get an autograph. Haha, flame rat. He's regretting it right now. Hua Jianrou, who got the autograph, laughed. Is it flame rat? No worries, we can pretend like we didn't hear anything just now. Isn't it just reversing what you said? It's no big deal. I, the flame rat, mean what I say. Everyone knows that I mean what I say. The flame rat glared. The moment he said that, a gentle voice sounded out beside his ears. Hello? Do you need an autograph? Hugs and handshakes are fine too. Do you want one? Chapter 2860. The power of an idol was formidable. The addition of Blue Lotus Fairy instantly caused the atmosphere of Yi Zichen's group to become much better. Meng Luo and the others all had happy smiles on their faces. They surrounded Fairy Blue Lotus and chattered non-stop. Even Winnie was no exception. She seemed to know Blue Lotus Fairy as well. He was also involved. In contrast to their excitement, Su Yan, Xia Kiki, and Su Luer, who came from Earth, were not as excited. There was no need to mention the others. Take Su Luer, for example. She was never the type to chase idols. Or rather, she might not even know the meaning of chasing after a celebrity. Su Yen and Xia Kiki hadn't left the Milky Way galaxy for long, even though the Milky Way galaxy had a virtual network for a long time. They were not in the mood to pay attention to these things. The situation in the Milky Way galaxy was too worrying. It took more than an hour. Yi Zichen allowed Meng Luo and company to chat with Blue Lotus Fairy, while the flame rat's eyes also shone with joy. He got the autograph. Although he really wanted to stick to the bold words he had said not long ago, under the gentle gaze of his idol, he couldn't help it. He couldn't hold on any longer. In the end, he still asked for an autograph and even gave her a hug. He looked like he was living a happy life. All right. When he saw that the sky had already darkened, Yi Zichen reckoned that if he didn't interrupt them, they might talk until the next morning. They were not having an idle meet and greet session. There were still many things that needed to be dealt with. When they heard Yi Zichen's shout, everyone stopped out of respect. In the future, Fairy Blue Lotus will be staying with us. If there's anything you want to say, just tell him. But don't ask too much about your idol's secret. Otherwise, your idol's image might collapse. Yi Zichen smiled meaningfully. The Blue Lotus Fairy, who had been maintaining a gentle smile, also stiffened when she heard his words. He was trying to provoke her. Her private state was indeed quite scary. Putting everything else aside, if Meng Luo and the others found out that the streets were filled with the original flavor, their image would definitely collapse. In front of such passionate fans, she still needed to maintain her idol's identity and image. Moreover, these fans were not ordinary people. She seemed to be answering Meng Luo and the others' questions, but she was actually trying to find out more about their backgrounds. In her opinion, to be able to form a team with a galactic lord, one's background must be very strong. However, what she didn't expect was, it was a little too strong. Although he might be a bit inferior to Guo Yingying, Great Emperor Guo's position in the human race was unshakable. However, Meng Luo and the others didn't give in. Bai Yu, for example, was actually Fire God's only daughter. Hua Jianrou, the daughter of Flower Emperor. Meng Luo, the daughter of the Spirit Rabbit lineage. The Flame Rat's family was also inextricably linked to the Fire God clan. If such a fan knew what she was like in private, being exposed, she thought PR was a problem. Wow, Fairy Blue Lotus wants to stay with us? Meng Luo was the first to clap her hands in excitement. Yes. Blue Lotus deity smiled and nodded. I've been hired by the Milky Way Lord to be your arcana teacher. If you have any questions about the secret technique that you don't understand, you can ask me. I don't think there's anything I don't know. Blue Lotus Fairy's words were very confident. This kind of confidence was not groundless, she really did have this kind of confidence. As an idol that was able to be crowned king in 100 years, and reigned supreme for 1,000 years. She basically didn't cultivate at all, and completely relied on her own comprehension of the secret technique to allow herself to break through without any obstacles. Her grasp of the secret technique. She did have some ability. Really? Meng Luo smiled in surprise. Actually, I don't need you to teach us anything. I'm super happy that you're staying here with us. The Flame Rat nodded. I heard that Fairy Blue Lotus's grasp of the secret technique is #1 in the human race. If we can really get Fairy's teachings, then that would be great for her, Bai Yu said softly. You flatter me, Blue Lotus Fairy smiled modestly. Alright, the idol meet and greet is over. Yi Zichen quickly interrupted the topic. He reckoned that if this continued, then he might really have to talk for another hour. Fairy Blue Lotus, you'll stay in the innermost room. Yi Zichen pointed at the innermost room of the suite. Yi Zichen pointed at the innermost room of the suite and said softly, Guo Yingying will stay with you. I want to stay with Big Brother. Guo Yingying blinked her large eyes, which revealed a childish look. Stay what? Don't embarrass yourself. Blue Lotus Fairy grabbed Guo Yingying's arm and dragged her towards the innermost room. My disciple and I are going to rest. You guys can discuss whatever you want. Blue Lotus Fairy tactfully smiled and left. However, Guo Yingying did not let it go. She started to throw a tantrum and wanted to roll around, only to be forcefully dragged back by Blue Lotus Fairy. Zichenji is really liked by kids. What was strange was that Xia Kiki, who was the most jealous, did not mind at all. Perhaps ever since she became a mother, she didn't really care about it. What's more, in her eyes, Guo Yingying was like a child around the same age as her daughter, Yi Yi. When she was young, Yi Yi always said that she wanted to sleep with Yi Zichen. Maybe. Yi Zichen shrugged helplessly, then looked seriously at Meng Luo and company around him. Don't say that I didn't remind you. Don't disturb Blue Lotus Fairy at night. Although I invited her here, she is still a sovereign. You can like her, but don't cause trouble for her. I know, Meng Luo nodded. Meng Luo nodded vigorously. The Almighty just needs to keep an eye on the flame rat. He might sneak in at midnight. Flame rat? I won't. The flame rat's face turned bright red. Meng Luo stuck out her tongue to tease the flame rat as usual. It seems like I was right. Stop messing around. Yi Zichen raised his hand to signal them to stop, then took out 2 crystals from his pocket. There's a total of 4.5 billion points here. Wow! That much? Meng Luo exclaimed. It's all right, Yi Zichen bragged silently. Then he took out 2 billion point stones and placed them in front of Xia Kiki. Kiki dealt with the most danger out of all of us. Give these 2 billion points to her. I don't want it. Xia Kiki shook her head. Just take it if I give it to you, Yi Zichen knitted his eyebrows. I'm just putting it here to protect you. Just keep it as our reserve fund. Does anyone else have any objections? Yizi, you earned these point stones, so you can distribute them, Baiyu said gently. Baiyu had a gentle expression. We definitely won't have any objections. You're the captain to begin with. Yeah, Meng Luo nodded. Alright, since no one has any objections, then here's another 2,660 million. Yi Zichen took out the point stones again. We'll split them evenly. Chapter 2861. Equally? Everyone in the living room was shocked as well. Yizi. Baiyu's expression turned solemn. There's no point in giving the points to us. Since we're always together, just leave it with you. I think so too. Hua Jianro also nodded. I feel a lot of pressure from having 200 million points with me. Yes, Meng Luo agreed. I'm informing you guys, not asking for your opinions. Compared to when he gave Xia Kiki 2 billion, at that moment, Yi Zichen was unexpectedly tough. We'll take out the 400 million we got from buying the shop and leave 26 billion. We'll each get 226 million. Me too? Xia Kiki was shocked. That's right. Xia Kiki wanted to refuse, but when she saw Yi Zichen's gaze, she could only lower her head silently. I'm going to screw up all of your thoughts. Yi Zichen looked at the others in the room. Perhaps you guys will think that there's no point in keeping the points with you, but who can guarantee what will happen in the future? What's more, splitting the points is to ensure that they won't be lost in the future. If all 4 billion is with me, then what if the point stones were switched out like this afternoon? Oh yeah. Blue Lotus Fairy's words shocked them too much, causing them to forget about losing the points. They only remembered after Yi Zichen mentioned it. Great deity, how did the points get switched out in the afternoon? Where did you get them back? Was it done by the ancestral dragon? Yi Zichen couldn't say that Blue Lotus Fairy took them, so he merely shrugged with a smile. I lost them, then picked them back up. You actually picked them back up? Great deity, you're too lucky. Meng Luo raised her eyebrows in surprise. Yeah, Yi Zichen smiled wryly. Anyway, the points are split like that. Everyone has 200 million, but we can't use it carelessly. We can buy what we should buy, but we can't buy what we shouldn't buy or spend it, like gambling. It's best if I don't go to places like gambling dens. I can win. That's because I can use divine power. If Meng Luo and company went to places like that, they would probably be swallowed whole. Understood. Everyone nodded seriously. In just a few minutes, all the points had been distributed. They all felt that it was amazing that they had obtained hundreds of millions of points. Not long ago they were worrying about $1 million. Now it was already a few hundred million. By the way, Almighty, where did you get these points? Meng Luo asked in confusion. Secret. Yi Zichen rubbed her nose with a chuckle, then stretched lazily. Go back and rest. It's getting late. After we buy the shop tomorrow, we can officially open for business. Yizi, that Blue Lotus Fairy. How did you hire her? We'll put the points we earned from hiring Fairy Blue Lotus into a crystal and treat it as our daily expenses. The rest will be enough for us to protect ourselves, Su Yan said in a low voice. It's not that expensive, 30,000 a day. 30,000. Hua Jianro frowned. That's not expensive. 30,000 was enough for us to use for a long time. Blue Lotus Fairy is worth this price. At that very moment, Baiyu suddenly spoke up. Blue Lotus Fairy is publicly acknowledged as the #1 person in the universe in terms of mastery of the human race's secret technique. Her understanding of secret techniques is something that even the other overlords and sovereigns cannot compare to. If it was in the human race, the price for a day of her teaching might be 100,000 primordial chaos. #1 in secret techniques. Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows and muttered. Blue Lotus Fairy's secret technique is the #1 in the human race? I seem to have heard you mention it just now. Is her secret technique really that strong? Someone who can be crowned a king in 100 years and become a sovereign in 1,000 years. What do you think? Baiyu pursed his lips and smiled. Blue Lotus Fairy has never cultivated before. She has been busy with all sorts of events and performances, but she is still able to reach this level. Why? It's because of her mastery of secret techniques. Continue, Yi Zichen muttered. According to what my father said, Blue Lotus Fairy is someone who is destined to become a supreme being. Baiyu directly dropped a bombshell. Everyone in the living room was shocked. Supreme being. Destined. In the human universe, there were countless monstrous geniuses that even the sovereigns could not say for certain. Take the people in the hall for example, everyone was a 1 in a billion genius. However, in order to have a higher chance of becoming a sovereign, they still chose to come here. The fire god actually said that Blue Lotus Fairy would definitely become a supreme being. My father pays more attention to her, so he might know a bit more, Baiyu sighed. Do you know? She became a sovereign less than 100 years ago, but she's already at the peak of the sovereign level. Do you know? How much control does she have over the laws of the universe? There's nothing she doesn't know. The 5 elements of heaven and earth, light and darkness, space and time, destruction and creation. She knows all of them, and they are all at the peak of the universe. Just like that, her understanding of the fire element is even higher than my father's. Lil Bai, don't say nonsense. Hua Jianro's face was filled with shock. Your father is a supreme being, the human race's fire god. You're saying, my father said it himself, Baiyu sighed. What's more, I'm guessing, that my father was able to become a supreme being because of Blue Lotus Fairy's guidance. That's because my father was very excited when he came back once. After that, he kept telling my mother that Blue Lotus Fairy was truly a genius, and that her talent was no less than the master of the Milky Way back then. Only then did I find out that Blue Lotus Fairy solved a problem that had troubled my father for many years. After that, my father became a supreme being. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. This is way too King ridiculous, okay? Blue Lotus Fairy once used her own power to create a galaxy. That galaxy is where Blue Lotus Fairy lives in, and is called the Fairy Galaxy. It contains the complete bestowment of the laws of the universe, and it was bestowed by her. Baiyu muttered softly. Everyone else in the hall was already speechless. bestowed a galaxy with the laws of the universe. Great deity, your current Milky Way galaxy was created by the Milky Way Lord, right? Meng Luo asked. Yi Zichen nodded, but he knew the Milky Way galaxy. It wasn't created by the Milky Way Lord. My father said, she's like a mystery. No one knows where she came from or what race she is. She's always been alone. She doesn't cultivate, she's just an idol. Meanwhile, increasing her strength is as easy as drinking water. All of the laws of the universe revolve around her, Baiyu said in a low voice. A low voice came out of Baiyu's mouth. Everyone silently listened to her narrate the story of Fairy Blue Lotus. Until the end, she is like a god. Chapter 2862. The next morning. A gentle breeze blew across everyone's faces, while the faint white sunlight was warm and gentle. The ancestral dragon city was lit up after the night. The streets were filled with all sorts of stalls, and the shouts of the peddlers could be heard. It was very lively. I'll go with you guys to the shops later, Yi Zichen said to Baiyu after buying breakfast. Yi Zichen asked Baiyu after buying breakfast. Baiyu nodded as well, but there was one person who had a strange expression. Blue Lotus Fairy. She felt that it was very strange the moment she woke up. Regardless of whether she wanted to wash up or do something, Yi Zichen and the others in the trial team seemed to be purposely letting her do it first. But they didn't dare to refuse. Baiyu had described Blue Lotus Fairy to be like a god the previous night. Even Yi Zichen felt a bit uneasy, and wondered if he was being too harsh to this big shot. God. Baiyu's conclusion the previous night was very clear. This big shot was a god. Nobody felt like her conclusion was exaggerated. If everything was truly as Baiyu said, Yi Zichen was willing to call her the creator of the world. How could there be someone like that? She was proficient in every law, and there was no law she didn't know. Even the current fire god. Even one of the most powerful beings had taken the final step because of her guidance. To be honest, Yi Zichen didn't really believe it. But he also knew that Baiyu wouldn't belittle his father in order to elevate Blue Lotus Fairy's status. Even if he was retarded, he wouldn't do something like that, right? Then, it proved that Blue Lotus Fairy truly had that kind of strength. Blue Lotus Fairy, stay after you finish eating. I'll come back and clean up, Yi Zichen said softly before he left. Hearing that, Su Yan smiled warmly. I'll do it. From start to finish. Blue Lotus Fairy didn't say anything. She merely frowned, while her eyes were filled with fear. That's right. It was fear. She felt like Yi Zichen's change was too huge, so huge that she suspected that there was something fishy going on. Or perhaps it was all a dream. She's not awake yet? That was a very high possibility. Thinking about it, Blue Lotus Fairy secretly pinched herself. It really hurts. She silently pressed down on the spot where she had pinched herself red, and watched as Yi Zichen, Baiyu and company left the living room. Wait! Just as Yi Zichen was about to leave the hotel, Blue Lotus Fairy suddenly ran out. What is it? Yi Zichen tilted his head. Come here. Seeing Baiyu and Hua Jianrou's confused gazes, Blue Lotus Fairy carefully pulled Yi Zichen's clothes to a corner. What are you doing? I'm going to buy a shop. Yi Zichen shrugged calmly. You're right. You don't know? That's right, you just came here. We're planning to buy a shop and open a shop in the future. At that time, we might not stay in a hotel. This place is too far from the shop. We might stay in a shop or buy a house nearby. I didn't ask you about that. Blue Lotus Fairy muttered. Then what do you want to do? Yi Zichen looked at her uneasy gaze. Are you going to take me away? Blue Lotus Fairy frowned. I'm telling you, you can't go back on your word. A man of character never goes back on his word. You can't go back on your word since you promised to let me be your personal tutor. I didn't say I was going back on my word. Yi Zichen was more than happy to have such a great deity as a personal tutor. How could he possibly go back on his word? Then you. Blue Lotus Fairy pursed her lips and thought back to the scene when she woke up in the morning. Why are you guys so nice to me? Would I dare to not be nice to you? My great deity Blue Lotus. Yi Zichen let out a sigh. You told us about your proud deeds last night. All of us normal people were shocked silly by you. Let me ask you, has anyone ever asked you for guidance regarding fire element secret techniques? Too many, Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged. Fairy Blue Lotus shrugs her shoulders. Every day, there are many people asking me for guidance, but I have never answered them. Never answered? Yi Zichen looked at Bai. She said that her father asked Blue Lotus Fairy for guidance yesterday. Yeah, I hate solving problems the most. Blue Lotus Fairy said. Then, why haven't you told anyone about your understanding of the fire attribute secret technique? Yeah, I guess. Blue Lotus Fairy rubbed her nose and thought for a while. Oh, it seems like someone asked me for guidance. That person seemed to be stuck in a dead end. I felt like he was rather stupid, so I talked to him for a while. It wasn't really asking for guidance, I just took the initiative to teach him. What's that person's surname? I don't know. Blue Lotus Fairy twitched her mouth. Blue Lotus Fairy curls her lips. Why would I be so bored to ask about those things? I only remember that person is quite handsome. I only told him because of his looks. Then, he seemed to be very happy and directly left. Handsome. The fire god was indeed handsome. See if it's this person. Yi Zichen searched for the fire god's photo in the virtual network. I think so. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded with a hint of excitement in her eyes. You know him? Who is this handsome guy? Can I get to know him? Yi Zichen looked at Blue Lotus Fairy's expression. It was as if she wanted to try dating someone. Don't even think about it, he's already married. So what if he's married? Wouldn't it be fine if he got a divorce? Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged nonchalantly. What's more, it's very normal for men to get a few wives now. I'll be the big one, and the original one will be the little one. I recommend him. You truly have no limits. This wasn't the first time Yi Zichen said something like that to her. Can you pay attention to your idol image? I'm just telling you. Blue Lotus Fairy twitched her mouth. Blue Lotus Fairy curled her lips. It's fine if you don't recommend it, stingy. Recommend my ass, he's the fire god. Yi Zichen glared. He's Bai's father, the human race's fire god, one of the supreme beings. Do you miss Bai's stepmother? If you do, then I'll go and tell her right now. Fire god. All of a sudden, Blue Lotus Fairy sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder I felt like the fire element's secret arts around him were very pure when I saw him. Zzz, brat, now you know how amazing I am. Even the supreme beings have to ask me for my secret art. Do you believe that I'll say that I'm #1 in the world now? I do. Yi Zichen couldn't say anything else when he saw Blue Lotus Fairy's proud look, so he merely nodded with a smile. We'll have to rely on Blue Lotus Fairy to teach us properly in the future. Don't worry, isn't this simple? Blue Lotus Fairy shrugged proudly. With my understanding of secret arts, even if you guys only learn 10% of it, it would be enough for you guys to dominate the universe. Young man, you truly earned big by buying me for 30,000 a day. Chapter 2863. I'm fired up. What a petty person. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and nodded with a smile. He was willing to suppress his anger in front of a big shot. What's more, there was nothing to be angry about. Blue Lotus Fairy was right. She might have truly learned 10% of the secret technique, so there was nothing wrong with her dominating the universe. She didn't even look at the fire god. She was already a supreme being. Blue Lotus Fairy is right. Yi Zichen smiled warmly, while a probing look appeared in his eyes. If there's nothing else, can I leave now? I'm in a rush to buy a shop. Zzz, I didn't ask you to. Try moving. Blue Lotus Fairy crossed her arms and walked around Yi Zichen with a playful look in her eyes. What are they talking about? Hua Jinro frowned. I don't know. Bai Yu shook his head. It's already been a few minutes. Why aren't they done yet? Also, from Blue Lotus Fairy's attitude, it seems like she's a bit proud. Hua Jianro frowned. Didn't Yi Zichen say that he's the leader? I'm not sure. Wait. Bai Yu returned to his usual taciturn self. Hua Jianro glanced at Bai Yu, then shrugged without saying anything. There was nothing she could do even if she was anxious. She couldn't go and rush him, right? No matter what, that was a god that Bai Yu had personally mentioned. Lil Yi. Blue Lotus Fairy instantly changed the way she addressed Yi Zichen after knowing that her status had changed. Lil Yi. Yi Zichen pursed his lips and let out a sigh, while a warm smile appeared in his eyes. Keep pretending. Blue Lotus Fairy, this little one is here. Wow, you're not angry. Blue Lotus Fairy's eyes revealed a look of surprise as she grinned. It seems like my current status is unprecedentedly high. Of course. Who are you? You are the great Blue Lotus Fairy. Yi Zichen made exaggerated movements with his hands and praised. Not bad. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded in satisfaction, then looked at Yi Zichen with a judgmental gaze. Apologize to me. Ah. I told you to apologize to me. Blue Lotus Fairy glared. Did you forget how you threatened me yesterday? Sorry, I was wrong. Be more sincere. Blue Lotus Fairy frowned, her eyes were filled with displeasure. Yesterday I was so sincere. You have to be 10 times more sincere. Do you have to do this? Yi Zichen frowned. Are you going to apologize? If you don't apologize, then I'm leaving. Blue Lotus Fairy's eyes narrowed. Alright, then you can leave. Yi Zichen didn't try to make him stay. He didn't even bother to look at him. Instead, he turned and walked away. The Fairy Blue Lotus was stunned. That's not right. The plot shouldn't be like this. In her opinion, Yi Zichen should have tried to persuade her to stay. In fact, he should have begged her to stay. She used this to blackmail him for a raise. It would be best if he could extort a sum of money from her so that she could go out and have a good time. In the future, she would also be the leader of this group. This was completely different from what she had imagined. When I said I'm leaving, I'm not saying that I'm going back. I'm going to leave this place and not teach you any secret technique. Alright, let's go. Yi Zichen said calmly. I didn't say that you couldn't leave. You're willing to let me go? Blue Lotus Fairy glared at him. My secret technique is #1 in the world. You don't need me to teach you my secret technique. Self-exploration is also a kind of pleasure. Yi Zichen shrugged. What's more, our group is made up of people who like to explore themselves. Originally, keeping you around would at most make things a bit more convenient, or be a mascot. If you don't want to stay, then leave. To us, it won't affect us too much. No, that's not how you treated me just now. Blue Lotus Deity frowned and looked at him for a while before revealing a smile of understanding. Retreat in order to advance. You don't want to lose face, so you want to counterattack. I'm telling you, I won't fall for it. If I leave, you won't be able to find me. You can leave. Yi Zichen maintained his calm expression. Fairy Blue Lotus, you might have misunderstood something. Although your mastery of the secret technique has indeed amazed us, and all of us were impressed by your mastery of the secret technique last night. Unfortunately, that's all there is to it. Part of the reason why we were friendly to you today is because Su Yen and Xiaokiki are very kind, and you are Mengluo and Company's idol. I respect the strong. That's all. If you think that we're treating you like this for the sake of your secret technique, then you're thinking too much. Yi Zichen sighed helplessly and shrugged. If you want to leave, then I definitely won't stop you. Then, I wish you all the best in the future. Blue Lotus Fairy was a bit nervous. From Yi Zichen's expression just now, she could truly feel that he was speaking from the bottom of his heart. How can that be? If I leave now, then I won't get any points at all. Could it be that I'm going to return to the era of selling original flavors? No. I don't want to live that kind of life again. Ha, just kidding. We're all humans, how could I treat you like that? Blue Lotus Fairy smiled. Hurry up and do what you need to do. I'm going to clean up the table. There are a lot of humans that came, Your Eminences. We are fated. I am a person who is very particular about fate. Blue Lotus Fairy's face is full of smiles, you see. I am definitely fated with you. Furthermore, your people are all my fans. Meeting you guys, I am not prepared to leave. Think about it, the lie that I randomly told last time was able to match up with you. We are so fated. Yes. Yi Zichen nodded. Then I'll go back. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded towards Yi Zichen with a smile, then turned back. Can you give me the points you promised me yesterday? Actually, I want to buy some clothes with my disciple today. How much? A total of 1,030,000 yuan. I hugged the flame rat yesterday. You don't have to say it, I believe you. Yi Zichen transferred the points over without saying anything. Blue Lotus Fairy's eyes were filled with joy when she saw the points enter her account. Thank you. You're welcome. Yi Zichen let out a long sigh helplessly. You don't always do this. If you want to stay here, then stay sincerely. Our group is filled with good people, they won't bully you, so don't bully them either. As for the secret technique, if you want to teach it, then teach it. If you don't want to, then I'll just accept you as a mascot. Be more honest with each other and trust each other, okay? No problem. Blue Lotus Fairy nodded with a smile. Yi Zichen looked at her helplessly and let out a long sigh. I'm leaving. We bought a shop across from the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. If anything happens, tell someone to find us there. Chapter 2864. The Ancestral Dragon Clan's Commercial Street in Jiefang City. Once upon a time, this street was an unknown little street. One day, a middle-aged man came to this place. He established a branch of the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. From then on, this street of Jiefang City went from being the most barren and desolate street to a commercial street that had a large number of customers every day. This had the most shops. From the entrance of the street, one could see a large number of shops doing all sorts of business. This does look a bit like the commercial district back at my place. Yi Zichen couldn't help but smile as he looked at the people on the street. A very familiar feeling. He could still vaguely remember the many interesting things that happened in the commercial district back on Earth. Among them, the one that left the deepest impression on him was buying bags. At the time, Xia Kiki and Jing Wan were choosing bags, while he was buying Tian Tian's birthday present. Then, he met his ex-girlfriend and her good older brother. In the blink of an eye, several hundred years passed. The energy of the universe surged into Earth, a world where everyone cultivated, and many ferocious beasts were born on Earth. It seemed like he could no longer go back to the past. Did you think of your parents again? Baiyu squinted his eyes and smiled. You really have a deep impression of your parents. But if your parents are similar to the ancestral dragon clan, then that would be rather interesting. Yi Zichen nodded noncommittally. As he looked at the endless stream of customers, Yi Zichen was filled with anticipation towards the shop. Previously, due to their limited funds, they didn't dare to come to a commercial district like this. There was no need to even think about it to know that the rent was ridiculously expensive. But who would have thought? In just one short night, they already dared to set foot in a place like this. Last time, they went to the Heaven and Earth Trading Company to collect the points left behind by the nine-faced Hegemon. At that time, it was already very late. As such, Yi Zichen and company hadn't seen such a lively scene. How much longer? It's just up ahead. According to Baiyu's memories, he walked for another 5 minutes or so before arriving in front of a rather deserted shop. That's it? Yi Zichen remembered that Baiyu said the shop was right in front of the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like it was right in front of the shop. They were at least several hundred meters away. They could indeed see the shop from where they stood, but it wasn't right in front of the shop. What a pity! Yi Zichen twitched his mouth. He was thinking about how he would fight that unscrupulous black merchant to the end if they were right in front of him. Don't even mention throwing an egg against a rock. How could the light of a firefly compete with the brightness of the moon? The reason he opened his shop was for entertainment, while the Heaven and Earth Trading Company was to make a living. There was no comparison between the two. Furthermore, he was here for school. He didn't want the Heaven and Earth Trading Company to go bankrupt, but it would be good for him to suffer a little. If the boss of the Heaven and Earth Trading Company knew about this, what would he think? It couldn't be helped. He was just that vengeful. What's a pity? Bai Yu, who was standing outside the door, said in confusion, "This shop isn't bad. It's a bit old, but it'll look great after it's renovated. I've seen it before. There's a lot of space inside. The owner is probably selling it for the price of a plot of land." Land price. Yi Zichen arched his eyebrows and stared blankly for a moment, but didn't say anything. He gave her a look. Bai Yu walked up and lightly knocked on the door. "Hello. We're here to look after your shop. We want to buy your shop." Not long after, the door of the shop was opened. What entered Yi Zichen's eyes was an elder who looked to be in his 60s or 70s. To be able to look old in a place like the ancestral dragon clan, he had to have lived at least several hundred years. "It's you." When the old man saw Bai Yu, a kind smile appeared in his eyes. "Hurry up and come in." This was Yi Zichen's first time in this shop. It was just as Bai Yu had said. It was indeed very large. Just the first floor was about 1,500 square meters, and there were even floors above. "Did you guys come back to buy a shop?" "Yes." Bai Yu revealed a smile. "This time, we want to buy your shop." "Now?" "Yes, now." Bai Yu didn't deny it. Yi Zichen patted her shoulder. In the end, Bai Yu's experience in society was still too little. It was better to understand the matter of buying a shop. Although he did buy it for fun, 400 million wasn't something he could get just because he wanted to. "Old man, I want to ask, what kind of business did your shop do before?" "Antiques." The owner of the shop smiled as he sat on the chair. "You can tell from the layout of my shop that this used to be an antique business. Why did you suddenly stop?" "I can't anymore," the old man sighed. "You saw my age as well. I'm sick of researching those antiques for several hundred years. I want to sell the shop and enjoy my old age." "Several hundred years. That's already a long time. Don't you think it's a pity to stop? Actually, it's fine to give it to your children, right?" Yi Zichen muttered. All of a sudden, the old man's expression changed. After several seconds, he let out a long sigh. "I don't have any children. Anyways, if you guys are sincere in buying, then this shop, I'll sell it to you for 350 million. It isn't easy to find a buyer for such a large shop. Just treat it as collecting the land price." The old man let out a long sigh. "Another 50 million cheaper." Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou's gaze changed as well. From the looks of it, they really wanted to directly close the deal. On the other hand, Yi Zichen squinted his eyes without saying anything. It was directly 50 million cheaper. To be honest, he saw that there were people who would sell their items at a discount, and when they bought a shop, they would also get a cheaper fare. It was directly 10% cheaper. Unbelievable. There was only one possibility for him to make such a decision. He really wanted to sell the shop. With the number of customers here, he wouldn't lack customers. What's more, this was his own shop, so he didn't need to consider the rent. Even if he truly wanted to retire to the mountains, he didn't need to sell the shop. He just needed to come and visit occasionally. He was an old man who had been busy his entire life. He couldn't stay still when he was suddenly given time. "Old man, there's something wrong with your shop, right?" Yi Zichen rubbed his nose. "We came to buy the shop sincerely, but if you don't sell it sincerely, then there's no point, don't you think?" "Oh? What do you mean?" "You directly reduced it by 50 million for a shop worth 400 million, that's too boring." Yi Zichen twitched his mouth. "As for your reason, you said that there aren't many people who can afford to buy your shop. The ancestral dragon clan has so many years of history, they have hundreds of millions, billions, or even billions in their hands. Do you think there would be a lack of buyers in such a prosperous place, and it's the main street? Young man, what do you want to say? I want you to speak the truth. Chapter 2865. Honesty is the key to doing business. Yi Zichen's eyes lit up as he looked at the elder sitting in front of the tea table. Don't you think so? All of a sudden, the old man's eyes also shone brightly. He looked at Yi Zichen seriously, then smiled and raised his hand. In the empty shop, a young man walked out with a teapot in his hand. Grandpa, sit. The elder indicated Yi Zichen to sit down, then nodded towards Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou. At the same time, he had just invited Yi Zichen and the others who came to buy the shop to sit down. I wonder how I should address you. Yi Zichen. This old man is Wan. The elder introduced himself with a smile, then poured a cup of hot tea for Yi Zichen. Businessman? I once did business with my wife for a period of time. Although I don't really understand, I understand a bit, Yi Zichen replied. What's more, this actually has nothing to do with doing business. Elder Hu, pies falling from the sky can crush people to death, don't you think so? That's true. Wan thought for a moment, then took a sip of tea. What do you suspect? It depends on what Elder Hu is willing to say. Yi Zichen didn't mention it and waited for him to say it himself. What's going on? Hua Jianrou, who sat far away, muttered softly. Didn't we come to buy a shop? We actually started chatting. Could it be that he can let the old man get a better deal? I'm not sure. According to their thoughts, the earlier they bought, the earlier they could finish. However, their thoughts were fundamentally wrong. The points were in their hands. That meant that they should be the ones who held the initiative. This shop wasn't especially popular. If it really was, then it would be better to buy it as soon as possible. But that wasn't the case. In order to sell it, the owner was willing to lower the price by 50 million. This meant that he was in a hurry. Hurry! There must be a problem. These problems might be his personal reasons, or they might affect the buyer. The former was fine. If it affected the latter, then wouldn't that be paying for suffering? The earlier he understood, the better. Are those two your wives? No. They don't look like they're doing business. Wan nodded without hiding anything. You suspect that this shop isn't mine? Am I trying to get your funds? Yi Zichen didn't say anything. Wan directly took out the deed. This is the title deed for the shop. There's an official seal of the ancestral dragon race on it. You can find anyone to verify its authenticity. If you don't know anyone, we can head over to the Heaven and Earth Trading Company to verify it. They'll be the guarantor for the transaction. Elder Hu, I believe in you. Yi Zichen pushed the deed back with a smile without even looking at it. The title deed. He didn't know who it was, so there was no point in looking. Some things needed to be verified, and one could tell from the tone and state of the other party's voice. For Wan to be able to say this so calmly, it was a miracle. This meant that the shop was indeed his. Then what are you still worried about? You have to say it yourself. Yi Zichen maintained his warm smile. Elder Hu, it's good for both of us if we speak clearly. You probably know that we're the only ones who can buy your shop. There probably won't be a second person in the entire Liberation City who would buy it. Tell me. I'm a very courageous person. I can handle even small problems. Inexplicably, a smile appeared in Wan's eyes. You're a human who just arrived here, right? Yes. As I thought, the ancestral dragon race rarely has someone as smart as you. It's not that I'm praising you, but the ancestral dragon race are all inflexible. They aren't as flexible as you humans. Wan let out a long sigh. That's why it's actually very easy to be a merchant here. All you have to do is use your brain a bit more, and you'll be able to do well. I can feel it. Yi Zichen had already seen the inflexibility of the ancestral dragon race since yesterday. Whether it was Nancy or the people in the gambling house, he could feel a mysterious aura from them. They were inflexible. Even if they were at a disadvantage, they didn't understand what it meant to submit to the circumstances. They didn't know who was in the advantageous position. All they thought was what they thought, and all they saw was what they saw. They didn't care about the future. This might be a flaw of the ancestral dragon race. Because we're all mass-produced. We were born from our clan's altars, then vanished from this world and returned to the altars. We're made from a set of molds. We really aren't as smart as you humans. To tell the truth, I really envy you humans. Wan smiled benevolently. Yi Zichen frowned. The ancestral dragon race can't reproduce. You can, Wan nodded with a smile. Wan smiled and nodded. Although we were born from the altar, we still have feelings. Naturally, we know how to carry on the family line. However, we are different from your world. You humans were born from a mother's womb, right? We were given to us from altars. In the end, we're still products of altars. Is that so? Yi Zichen was somewhat surprised. Just now you said, I'm hiding something. That's right, I'm hiding something. Wan pondered for a moment, then nodded. Also, I really do need to sell my shop because my foster son wants to take it away. Oh? His father. Wan patted the young man's head. Wan patted the young man's head. Since last year, people have been smashing up my shop, causing my business to be unable to continue. Later, someone contacted me and wanted to buy this shop for 30 million. 30 million, I wouldn't even sell it for 500 million. Then, I found out that the person behind it was actually my foster son. If the business can't continue, then I won't do it. But I definitely can't give the shop to him. He is a gambler. That's your reason? Yes. Wan's expression was filled with calmness. Yi Zichen looked at him silently, then shook his head with a smile, then waved towards Bai Yu and Hua Jianro. Elder Hu! You just said that humans are smarter than you ancestral dragon race. I don't dare to say that I'm the smartest in the human race, but I believe that I'm smarter than normal people. Your lies are too inferior. Yi Zichen couldn't help but sigh. Yi Zichen couldn't help but sigh, then shrugged when he saw the change in Wan's gaze. But I'll buy it. We can give it to you right now for 350 million. Congratulations, you're free. Wan slowly reached out his right hand, then looked at Yi Zichen with a confused gaze. You. Someone wants to take over your property, right? Yi Zichen smiled. Old man, you're not being honest. But this problem is very easy to solve. It meets my standards and expectations of being able to buy it. Bai Yu, transfer the money. Chapter 2866. The contract was signed very smoothly. The points were transferred to Wan's hands, while Yi Zichen and company received the deed. During that time, they contacted the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. Buying a shop required fairness, and the Heaven and Earth Trading Company's business also included that. It was fortunate that the staff member that returned was not that black merchant. If it was him, Yi Zichen might really have to beat him up. Even now, he clearly remembered how that person had tricked him back then. Mr. Yi, this shop now belongs to you, the staff member of the Heaven and Earth Trading Company smiled. The staff of the Heaven and Earth Trading Company said with a smile, if you have any questions, you can contact our Heaven and Earth Trading Company and we will provide you with the best service. We also provide external staff. If you don't have enough staff in the future, we can bring you staff with the best sales skills. You can learn more at our trading company. Our trading company is very close to you, it only takes a few minutes to get there. The staff member's smile was very kind. Yi Zichen silently listened to him say some standard lines, then told him that he would find him if he needed anything. Only then did the staff member leave in peace. This Heaven and Earth Trading Company. Their business scope is truly wide. Yi Zichen sighed after the Heaven and Earth Trading Company staff left. They can even make property certificates. I really don't know if there's any business they can't do in the ancestral dragon clan. The Heaven and Earth Trading Company is indeed very mysterious, Juan also sighed. It's like there's nothing they don't have in the Heaven and Earth Trading Company. As long as you want to buy it, they will definitely sell it, it's just that the price is a bit higher. It's like they don't sell goods. They sell shortages. Is that so? Yizichin couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Sell shortages. They have everything. Being able to do business to such an extent is truly the pinnacle. Do you know who the boss of their trading company is? Is it that shop? No, I'm talking about their background. How would I know that? Juan couldn't help but laugh and shake his head. I'm afraid that only hero-level people would know about someone who can open a trading company like this. This kind of person is truly too amazing. I even suspect that person to be a hero. It's impossible for normal people like us to do it. Old mister, don't underestimate yourself too much. Yizichin comforted softly. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I won't do business if he doesn't come. Juan smiled inexplicably. He looked at his shop with a nostalgic look in his eyes. Perhaps there were many unforgettable memories here. But in the end, he had no choice but to leave this shop that contained his memories and time. Mr. Yi, I want to ask you one last question. After several minutes, Juan finally returned to his senses. He looked at Yizichin with a pleading look in his eyes as he muttered to himself. Please go ahead. I want to know what went wrong with what I said just now, and why did you still choose to buy my shop after knowing that it was all a lie? This was the question that had been lingering in Juan's heart. Even though he was able to sell the shop, he still felt very satisfied. The shop was for sale. It was to resolve one of the things that had been bothering him. However, he felt that everything he said at that time was very reasonable. Whether it was the setting of the relationship or the habit of gambling, there was no problem. At least, that was how he saw it. Moreover, doing business was all about sincerity. He had already committed a taboo by deceiving her multiple times. Even if Yizichin just left, he wouldn't think much of it. That was his problem. He couldn't blame anyone else. Even if he only said some lies in order to make the shop sell more smoothly. That's what you wanted to ask? Yizichin laughed. Yes. Juan nodded vigorously. I will be able to enjoy my old age in the future. I hope you can explain this to me. A problem with logic. Yizichin squinted his eyes and smiled. What you said just now actually doesn't have a complete logic. The biggest difference between truth and lies is that when you speak the truth, you will have logic in it. Lies are something that you imagine out of thin air. You will say whatever you think of, so there will be logical loopholes. Logic? Juan frowned deeply, as if he had never heard of the word logic before. What is logic? Yea. The people of the ancestral dragon clan actually don't know logic. Yizichin was momentarily stunned, then explained. It's about speaking logically. Actually, you can feel it for yourself. If you've been telling the truth from start to finish, then your words will be interconnected. What's more, even if you've jumped, there are actually traces that can let people know why you did it. There aren't any lies. Is that so? Juan silently memorized everything Yizichin said. Then why did you buy my shop in the end? I lied to you. Shouldn't you feel like I'm not being honest? The reason is simple. I need this shop. As he spoke, Yizichin subconsciously glanced at Baiyu, who was carefully holding the deed. We want to open a shop for fun. Your shop is pretty good. I'm too lazy to go back and forth looking for it, so I bought it. As for hiding the truth, I can understand why you are hiding it. Yizichin rubbed his head, then shrugged with a smile. When faced with a threat and no way to deal with it, most people will choose to escape. That's what you're doing right now. In order to get the shop to act, hiding some problems and not being honest is actually acceptable. To tell the truth, this isn't much. I've seen worse people. Compared to them, you're already not bad. As for why I bought it in the end, because your so-called problem can be solved. I can naturally buy it in peace. Do you know what I'm facing? Juan frowned. You can say it now. Yi Zichen shrugged. Juan let out a deep sigh. The person who wants to take my shop is someone with over 1 trillion points. That's why. No one has come to take over my shop for so long. 1 trillion? Yes. That's a lot. Yi Zichen cracked his neck and laughed. Yi Zichen cracked his neck and laughed. Don't worry, it won't affect me at all. Just let him come. If he really dares to come, who knows, maybe even that trillion will be mine. Who knows? You. Juan's eyes instantly filled with shock as a thought formed in his mind. This young man has over 1 trillion points as well. Chapter 2867. 1 trillion. To Juan, that was an astronomical figure. Who knew how many ordinary people of the ancestral dragon clan struggled bitterly to survive? Even 100,000 points in their pockets was a lot. People like him, who had a few 100 million points, were all commoners. He'd thought he'd never run into a trillion-level expert, but to his surprise, today, he'd run into one. Mr. Yi Yu. Juan's eyes were filled with astonishment. He looked at Yi Zichen with reverence. The accumulation of points allowed the ancestral dragon clan to clearly differentiate between different classes. In front of a trillion-level expert, Juan was truly an insignificant nobody. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been bullied to such an extent. He'd hurriedly acted out of fear and tossed this troublesome potato aside. I've run into a benefactor today. I can't believe a major figure like you is willing to reason with small fry like us. Mr. Yi. Juan hesitated, but his expression was filled with gratitude and excitement. When Yi Zichen saw this, he chuckled. He could more or less guess what Juan was thinking. If he wasn't wrong, Juan was definitely thinking that if Yi Zichen could look down on trillion-level experts, then he had to be at least on that level. Because the ancestral dragon clan's point limit was very clear. The higher one's points, the higher their status in the clan. They were also protected by the clan's rules. Those with low points had no right to challenge those with high points. Little did they know, Yi Zichen's confidence didn't come from his points. His confidence came from the power of his godhead. When he activated his divine power, he could contend against someone with billions of points, even if he didn't have any points. Back then, he'd only used a tiny bit of it. If he went all out, he really couldn't guarantee how far he'd go. From what you're saying, don't you have a department to manage things like this? Yi Zichen arched his brows. We do. Juan nodded in response. If we encounter unfair treatment, we can go to the Divine Temple of Justice and Justice to file a complaint. When the time comes, the two heroes of Justice and Justice will send their guards to investigate. But an investigation is just an investigation. There's no way to solve the problem at its root. The heroes of Justice and Justice will handle justice for us. But the effect of verbal education is negligible. If we really put him in prison, that master's subordinates will also come to cause trouble. In the end, it will be us, the vulnerable groups, who suffer. I also went to the Temple of Justice. The guards also came to investigate, and they also investigated that lord. In the end, look at me, I'm still like this. I still can't do business, and the shop is also anxious to sell. Juan's expression was filled with helplessness. Perhaps to him, he had really reached a point where he had nowhere else to go. If that wasn't the case, he wouldn't be like this. But then again, Yi Zichen could understand. The existence of the Temple of Justice was like the judicial department of the ancestral dragon clan. Even though it could play a role in ensuring fairness, but in a real sense, its deterrence was only average. It was impossible for him to follow up in time. It would take a lot of time for the people to pray and for him to send guards over. After that, even if they really caught the person who violated justice, it was impossible for him to capture everyone in one fell swoop. In that case, Juan would be the one to suffer in the end. This is the tragedy of the law not being regulated. Yi Zichen couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. The local laws were not perfect. Chaos was bound to arise within the clan. There was also the problem of the clan's points. There was no problem with points representing one's own strength. Every place had its own laws, which Yi Zichen could understand. However, an individual's points could be taken by others. There were no prerequisites for taking it, and it could be instantly turned into points after it was taken. Their identities were linked. Wasn't this a bit too careless? It was possible for someone to accidentally lose their point stone, and it was picked up by someone else on the way. Then it would belong to him. There was no such thing as paying it back. On Earth, if you lost something, you could report it to the police, and the person who picked it up would return it to you. If you lost a bank card, you could report it. In the ancestral dragon clan, none of that existed. If you lost it, then you lost it. The ancestral dragon clan did that? Were they trying to say that not being able to protect your points was your own problem, and you couldn't blame anyone else for losing your point stone, but you had to take responsibility for your mistakes? However, he wasn't a manager of the ancestral dragon clan, so he couldn't understand the manager's feelings. Perhaps everyone here was born from the altar. Those so-called heroes didn't care too much about them, because in their eyes, these commoners weren't even human. Whether they lived or died, it didn't matter. They couldn't rebel either. Thus, they just let them live their lives as they pleased. It was too terrifying. Now that he thought about it carefully, the ancestral dragon clan really was terrifying. The true beneficiaries were those with more points. They could rely on their advantages and use all sorts of extreme methods to obtain even more benefit. For example, Juan. Hadn't he been forced to the point where he couldn't even survive because of the owner of hundreds of millions of points? That person had robbed him of his property. A few $100 million. That was wealth that many ordinary commoners couldn't even hope to obtain in their entire life. Yi Zichen didn't mention anyone else, but his grandma, who sold soy milk outside their hotel, sold it for only 1 point per bottle. How many bottles would she have to sell to earn even that much? That person with hundreds of millions of points. Just by moving a finger. She'd nearly made Juan submit. That's enough. I'll take over your hot potato. If there's nothing else, you can go back. Yi Zichen waved at Juan. Juan nodded his head heavily with a smile. Soon after, his eyes were filled with nostalgia as he looked at the shop. Mr. Yi, can I take one last look? Of course. Yi Zichen nodded with a smile. He understood Juan's feelings very well. Unfortunately, at this moment, the sound of footsteps suddenly came from outside the shop. With a loud bang, the door of the shop was smashed into pieces. Old Hu. I heard that you actually found someone else to buy your shop. Old man, you're really vicious, aren't you? Outside the door, the man with a long scar twisted his neck and walked in. The moment he entered, he saw Yi Zichen frowning at him. You have to compensate for the damage. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and muttered. The scarred man instantly frowned. Which? Yi Zichen is the current owner of this shop. Chapter 2868. Oh. The man with the scar in front of him grinned inexplicably and glanced behind him, his eyes lingering with ridicule. There were about 20 or so thugs behind him. Without exception, the expressions of those people were the same as the man with the scar in front of them. They all had the same playful expression. It was clear. From their eyes, it could be seen how much they disdained Yi Zichen's actions. Everyone in Liberation City knew about it. Their boss was definitely going to take Hu An's shop. Many rich merchants didn't dare to interfere, but now, a random brat whose name they didn't even know appeared out of nowhere and said that the shop was his now. What a joke. That was what these people were thinking. There really are people who aren't afraid of death. The scarred man shook his head. Instantly, everyone in the shop roared with laughter. What are you guys laughing at? Hua Jianro glared and pointed at the thugs. And who are you? The scarred man twitched his mouth. Little girl, I advise you to be more obedient. Right now, you don't have the right to speak, understand? And who are you? Hua Jianrou snorted coldly. Wei Hu. I wonder if you've heard of him. The man with the scar grinned. Nameless rat, why would I need to know you? Hua Jianrou's eyes were filled with disdain. She didn't even bother to look at him. Just as Hua Jianrou finished her sentence, one of Wei Hu's subordinates stood out and pointed at Hua Jianrou angrily. Little girl, what are you going to say to Lord Hu? Unfortunately, before he finished, Hua Jianrou grabbed his finger and twisted it upwards. The intense pain caused the lackey's expression to change drastically. Point at me again? I've really spoiled you. Although most of the people in the room were Wei Hu's men, Hua Jianrou was not afraid at all. Instead, her expression was filled with arrogance. This sort of personality was mostly related to her family. Since she was young, she was the kind of person who could only bully others. No one dared to bully her. The family behind her gave her a confidence that normal people couldn't compare to. This also gave birth to her fearless personality. Even though she was in the ancestral dragon clan, she still didn't know what fear was. If Wei Hu's men dared to point at her, to put it in an exaggerated way, she would even dare to kill him. Wei Hu's subordinates frowned as well. Yi Zichen hadn't said a word, and the same was true for their leader, Wei Hu. The entire shop was filled with the cries of Wei Hu's subordinate. But no one cared about it. Heh! Half a minute later, when Wei Hu's face was in so much pain that it deformed, Wei Hu, who had a scar on his face, grinned. Let go of the woman who can make you. If you keep doing this, I, as the big brother, will lose face. With a rub, Hua Jianrou's face turned red. She wanted to glare at him and retort, but she hesitated and didn't say anything. Coincidentally, Yi Zichen smiled. Hua Jianrou, let him go. Red-faced, Hua Jianrou wrinkled her nose fiercely, loosened Wei Hu's fingers, and kicked him hard in the chest. Dong! A loud noise came from the shop. Wei Hu couldn't even be bothered to look, as if none of this mattered to him. As expected of someone who dared to buy Hu An's shop. It seems like you have plenty of points. Wei Hu squinted at Yi Zichen, Hua Jianrou, and Bai Yu. I've never seen you before. I wonder where you're from. Humans, replied Yi Zichen coldly. Yi Zichen replied coldly. I don't really like to bullshit. That's the current situation. The shop is already mine. If there's nothing else, I hope you can leave as soon as possible. Of course. Before you leave, I'll have to trouble you to pay for the damage to the shop. Ha ha ha. Wei Hu suddenly burst into uncontrollable laughter. Humans? No wonder. If it was someone from Liberation City of the ancestral dragon clan, there was no need to mention the person behind him. Even if Wei Hu said his own name, the people in the city would be so frightened that their hair would stand on end. I'd almost forgotten. Quite a few humans had come to the ancestral dragon clan recently, but they all seemed to know their place. Yi Zichen was the first person they'd noticed. What did he just say? Tell me to pay for the damage to the shop. Hey, how many years? How many years has it been since someone dared to speak to me like that? Wei Hu's gaze seemed to be filled with nostalgia. He twisted his neck and tilted his head at his thugs. Do you remember? It's been too long. I can't remember. The thugs laughed. Then do you remember what happened to the person who spoke to me like that? I think he was fed to the dogs. How was he fed to the dogs? Buried alive? Chopped up and used as fodder? The thugs' mocking voices rose and fell. Yi Zichen, who stood across from them, maintained his warm smile. There was no point. He'd lived for so many years, and he wasn't easily frightened. Saying things like that had no effect on him at all. Brat. Seeing as you're a human, I'll give you some face. Now, get your points back from Wan. This has nothing to do with you. If you insist on buying this place, then really, even if you're a human, we can't let you go. Wei Hu rubbed his chin and grinned. Actually, He didn't really want to have a grudge with a human outsider. He'd heard that all the humans who could come here had rather high statuses in the human race. Even the higher-ups of the ancestral dragon clan had to be careful around them. How could he not have a grudge with them? It was better not to. The grudge between them and Juan was an internal conflict of the ancestral dragon clan. There was no need to drag the human race into it. Yi Zichen shrugged noncommittally. Have you decided who's going to compensate? Wei Hu's gaze instantly darkened as he looked at Yi Zichen angrily. Are you determined to meddle in other people's business? I don't think so. I don't want to get involved in your personal grudges, but I've already bought the shop. You guys destroyed it, so I have to make you pay for my losses, right? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and smiled. As for your threats just now, I'd advise you to keep them to yourself. Since you like threatening people so much, then do you know what happened to the person who intentionally caused trouble for me last time? What happened? Why should I tell you? For some reason, a mocking smile appeared in Yi Zichen's eyes. Wei Hu's chest heaved up and down violently. He clenched his right fist and charged towards Yi Zichen with a loud bang. Slap! Yi Zichen firmly grasped Wei Hu's hand, then narrowed his eyes and smiled at him. It seems like your abilities aren't as amazing as your mouth. Chapter 2869. The Fist That Seemed to Carry the Power of a Tsunami. Yi Zichen effortlessly caught the punch, which seemed as if it wanted to destroy the entire shop. Wei Hu's subordinates all opened their eyes wide. As they watched Yi Zichen easily catch his fist, their hearts were filled with shock. This is impossible. In the entire Liberation City, there were very few people who could take Wei Hu's fist. At the very most, they could be counted on two hands. Again. The man with long braids, who was taking a walk in the city, squinted his eyes. This time, it feels a bit far. Should we go and take a look? Why does he dare to use so much strength? Is he really not afraid of other people feeling it? The god race already has a small population. Should we go and take a look? The man who stood in the middle of the street had a conflicted look in his eyes. He didn't see anything the last time he went. He wasted a lot of time, so much so that it was already cold by the time he went back to eat barbecue. However, any one of their colleagues was a treasure to them. Although they might not live in the same race, he couldn't just ignore them now that he met them. He clearly remembered the teachings of his ancestors. Let's go and take a look. The man with long braids rubbed his nose, then waved his hand to call a carriage driver. To the merchant street. Within the shop, Yi Zichen held Wei Hu's fist with a relaxed gaze. You! Wei Hu also looked at Yi Zichen, who had a smile in his eyes, in shock. I what? Tell me, what can you do with your embroidered fists? You talk tough, but you can't do it, can you? With that, Yi Zichen suddenly tightened his grip. A cracking sound was heard from Wei Hu's arm, and his eyes turned red. Intense pain coursed through Wei Hu's entire body, stimulating his nerve. Why did you shout out in pain? Didn't you want to hit me just now? You don't seem to be able to now. Let go of Hu Ji. All of the thugs in the shop rushed over. Dong dong dong. In less than half a minute, the several dozen thugs all laid on the ground with pained expressions. At the same time, Yi Zichen let go of Wei Hu's arm. Wei Hu, who had just been freed. He fell to the ground and clutched his arm with his left hand, then looked at Yi Zichen with a hint of fear in his eyes. Are we still going to fight? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and smiled. Wei Hu took a deep breath. You're at the level of 10 billion. Although Wei Hu was just a part-time worker, he had followed the boss above him for so many years, and he had gotten to the point where he had billions of points. At his level, he might not be able to use his connections to intimidate others in other cities, but in Liberation City, he was as rare as a phoenix feather or a unicorn horn. But he never would have thought he was actually able to encounter an almighty being at the level of 10 billion in Liberation City. 10 billion? Yi Zichen squinted his eyes and twitched his mouth. Do you think I only have 10 billion? Then what else can you be? Wei, who was well aware of how many points he had. If Yi Zichen had 100 billion, then he had no way of attacking him. He was qualified to attack, but he wasn't his opponent. This was the proof of 10 billion yuan. Why do you care what I am? Yi Zichen pursed his lips and shrugged. I just want to ask you, do you still want to fight me? I don't. Wei Hu's answer was very straightforward. If he knew he wasn't Yi Zichen's opponent and still insisted on fighting, then he was simply a fool. At first, he didn't know what level Yi Zichen was at. Now that he knew, he naturally had to be more obedient. In the ancestral dragon clan, the points system was very clear. If you had fewer points, then you had to be more obedient. That's quite an honest answer. I'm not stupid enough to argue with someone at the level of 10 billion. What do you want now? Are you going to stick your nose into this mess? I have to remind you, although you have 10 billion yuan, our boss has 1 trillion yuan. If he wants to crush you. Before Wei Hu could finish, he felt a sharp pain in his stomach. He clutched his stomach and fell to the ground. Yi Zichen cracked his neck and laughed. Can't you see the situation clearly? You're still talking about people at a time like this? Do you think there's any point? I don't care who your boss is. What does that have to do with me? What I want right now is compensation for my shop. You broke my door, so don't you have to compensate me? How do you want me to compensate? Wei Hu clutched his stomach and looked up at Yi Zichen with a pained expression. It depends on your sincerity. Yi Zichen pulled out a chair and sat down. Or rather, it depends on how many points you think your life is worth. As soon as he said that, Yi Zichen's eyes flashed with a demonic smile. Even Wei Hu, who dominated the ancestral dragon clan for over 100 years, couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He felt a chill run down his spine. He sat on the ground like he was sitting on pins and needles. You want to kill me? No, how could I possibly kill you? Yi Zichen patted him on the shoulder and shrugged. Don't be so nervous. Although I've killed quite a few people, I'm still rather resistant to it. But, didn't you want to kill me? We have an old saying, it's impolite not to reciprocate. Right, what did your subordinates say? Feed me to the dogs, bury me alive, or chop me up into animal feed. I can give you a choice. You. Shu. Yi Zichen gestured for Wei Hu to be silent. Don't be angry. Anger will only make you look pitiful. If you don't want to die, then obediently hand over your points and I'll let you live. Do you know who I work for? Wei Hu shouted. Ha, what does that have to do with me? Even if you work for the Master of Judgment, here. Either you pay up or you die. Do you understand? Yi Zichen grabbed Wei Hu by the hair, his eyes completely emotionless. My patience is limited. Don't provoke me again, okay? 50 million. Wei Hu gnashed his teeth and shouted. Your life is only worth 50 million? Yi Zichen's expression was filled with disdain. He rubbed his nose. That's a bit too little. Wei Hu knelt on the ground and clenched his right fist. A broken door. 50 million wasn't enough. He was too greedy. But now that his life was in Yi Zichen's hands, he could only suppress his fury. 100 million. Not enough. 200 million. Not quite enough. 500 million. Wei Hu's eyes were bloodshot. When he looked up, his eyes were filled with savagery. Yi Zichen looked at him with a smile, then squinted his eyes and slapped him. Who told you to look at me like that? Yi Zichen smacked Wei Hu so hard that he lost a tooth, then pursed his lips and laughed softly. Yi Zichen pursed his lips and laughed. How about this? I'll give you a number. I want it all. Chapter 2870. The entire store was deathly silent. It was as if even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard clearly. All of it. Wei Hu looked up into Yi Zichen's eyes. Dream on. He had over 5 billion points on hand. How could he possibly give it all to Yi Zichen? He'd lived in the ancestral dragon clan for so long. It wasn't that he'd never seen someone as greedy as Yi Zichen, but he'd never seen someone as greedy as Yi Zichen. Think about it carefully. Yi Zichen narrowed his eyes and smiled. In any case, he wasn't in a hurry at all. He trusted that Wei Hu would definitely give him a satisfactory answer. I don't need to think about it. Wei Hu glared. Don't be so sure. Yi Zichen smiled, then his voice seemed to whisper from the depths of hell. I believe you'll agree. Next, they saw Yi Zichen tap Wei Hu's body twice. His actions seemed ordinary and unremarkable. Even Wei Hu didn't notice. And yet, in less than half a minute, Wei Hu's expression changed dramatically. He glared at Yi Zichen and roared. What did you do? No one understood why he was so terrified. The only ones who could understand him were himself and Yi Zichen, who stood opposite him. What exactly did you do to me? Tell me. Wei Hu glared fiercely, then leaped to his feet and grabbed Yi Zichen's arm. Let go. Yi Zichen lowered his gaze. He looked at him with a gaze so cold that it made one's heart palpitate. Unfortunately, Wei Hu, lost in his terror, couldn't hear Yi Zichen's threat. His arm was still tightly clenched. Then there was a crisp crack. A miserable howl came out from Wei Hu's mouth. I told you to let go, so just obediently let go. Don't you understand human language? Yi Zichen glanced at him coldly. Everyone could see that Wei Hu's right arm had already deformed. All of the hired thugs in the store fell silent. Even Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou revealed a hint of fear. They'd never seen Yi Zichen like this before. He was bloody, cruel, and radiated a tyrannical aura. They found him somewhat unfamiliar. Yi Zichen couldn't be bothered to explain. This was youth. Wei Hu, who was lying on the ground, had no time to care about his twisted hand. The fear in his heart was far greater than the pain in his arm. I'll give you 2 billion. Let me go. Wei Hu stared at Yi Zichen, his eyes filled with terror and despair. Hearing this number, everyone in the shop couldn't help but gulp. I want it all. Yi Zichen still stuck to his original plan. 2 billion? Although it was not a small amount, it was far from enough in his heart. If he could obtain more, why would he settle for second best? Just to leave a way out. He didn't think it was necessary. Moreover, he was passionate about accumulating points. He wanted his team to live more comfortably and safely here, and he was also doing it for ruling master Zhuing to see. She didn't want him to have points. However, Yi Zichen insisted on getting more points to let her know. Those tricks of hers were useless against me. Don't go too far. Wei Hu's eyes suddenly turned crimson. I'll give you 2 billion, then I'll take my people and leave. If you really insisted on doing this, then neither of us would benefit. What's more, there would be no way to resolve this grudge. Do you think I'm scared? Yi Zichen raised his eyebrows. Was he really wondering what was going on in Wei Hu's head? Yi Zichen had already done things to such an extent. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he had gone to the extreme. Wei Hu actually thought that there was anything that could be resolved? Didn't he find it laughable? Right now, the two of them were on opposing sides, so there was no longer any question of resolving the situation. Fine, you forced me to do this. Ignite. As Wei Hu roared towards the sky, a powerful pressure was instantly released from his body. It was as if his entire body was burning in flames. His ferocious aura continued to spread outwards. Yi Zichen, who stood in front of him, also frowned. Then, he noticed a very long line of numbers above Wei Hu's head. 76994357783. The number was rapidly decreasing. In less than half a minute, he had lost over 100,000 points. As the number decreased, his aura grew more and more intense. Point ignition. One couldn't help but exclaim. What is point ignition? Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou couldn't help but mutter. Point ignition is an ability that only those above the level of 1 billion have. As the name implies, It's the act of igniting one's own points in order to obtain even greater power. The price of point ignition is 100 million points. Afterwards, based on the number of points burned, a corresponding amount of points will be deducted every second. The more points you lose, the stronger you will become. Juan squinted his eyes in shock. After point ignition, the amount of points used is irreversible. That's why very few people would make such an impulsive decision unless under special circumstances. What's more, after igniting points, it will place a huge burden on your body. This is because the strength of point ignition isn't reflected on the level of points, but on a personal level. Personal level. By you didn't understand. That's right. When the other party ignites points, the battle between you is no longer a battle of points, but personal strength. Juan muttered. Huh? Hua Jianrou was at a loss. Isn't the energy of the universe sealed here? Everyone is an ordinary person. What difference can there be? There is. Juan's expression was very serious. When someone ignites points and challenges you at the same time, both parties' points will be sealed. After that, your personal strength will determine the outcome of this battle. To put it simply, if your personal strength is 5, due to the protection of points, even if you meet someone with a strength of 10, points will be the priority. However, once the protection of points is gone, you will have to face someone with a strength of 10 with a strength of 5. Igniting points can increase your strength. The more points you ignite, the more you will increase. This is also a method of protection for those above the level of 1 billion. It's not easy to obtain 1 billion points. Therefore, when facing the pressure of high-level points, you can choose to use this method to protect your dignity. Even if you can't win, you can at least buy time to escape. F***ck, there's actually something like that? Hua Jianrou was shocked. Mr. Yi still hasn't ignited his points. Then maybe. Juan frowned and didn't dare to finish his sentence. The eyes of Wei Hu had already ignited 500 million points, were filled with flames of anger. Die! Easy! Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou both exclaimed. Then, they saw Yi Zichen slowly raise his arm. He grabbed Wei Hu's hand easily with a mocking expression. That's it? Chapter 2871. What? He looked ferocious, giving off the impression that he was in extreme danger. But when Wei Hu punched him, Yi Zichen actually had the feeling that he didn't feel as much pressure as before. It wasn't an exaggeration. He hadn't even used his Godhead's power to block the punch. He'd burned 500 million points, yet Wei Hu had caught his punch so easily. Wei Hu's eyes were filled with disbelief. Impossible! After burning his points, he'd already confirmed that he'd dueled Yi Zichen. Yi Zichen's 10 billion points were sealed. Both of them had taken off the layer of points and were fighting with their own strength. He hadn't burned anything. How could he possibly block his 500 million points punch? Are those points above your head? Yi Zichen looked up at the number above Wei Hu's head. Are you using a pay-to-win skill on me? Your ancestral dragon clan's design is rather strange. You even have pay-to-win skills? But your skill isn't too good either. Years of gaming experience made Yi Zichen quickly realize. Wei Hu was using pay-to-win. In truth, it could be explained as burning one's blood essence. Burning one's blood essence gave one greater strength. However, it also caused one's cultivation to regress. Using it on points was burning points, which would lower one's reserve. But this kind of skill should be used to improve oneself, not to make oneself weaker. Yi Zichen squinted his eyes, filled with confusion. Huan, do you know what's going on? Yi Zichen tilted his head and glanced at Huan. I don't really understand what he's doing. Explain. He's burning his points. Huan quickly repeated what he'd just told Bai Yu and Hua Jianrou. Yi Zichen instantly smiled in understanding. Got it. Fixing the arena. Simply put, it was to let two people who weren't on the same level give up on their equipment and fight based on their own attribute. Then, burning points could increase one's attribute. No wonder Wei Hu had become weaker after burning his point. What he didn't know was that his equipment was actually much better than Yi Zichen's. The only reason he wasn't Yi Zichen's match was because Yi Zichen was using his Godhead's power. Unfortunately, he understood it as a cheat. He had used a cheat code to fight Wei Hu just now. Now Wei Hu voluntarily gave up on his advantage in points and fought Yi Zichen for stats. Then how could he fight? Yi Zichen was a body cultivator. Although he had become the master, according to the great sage, his body was even stronger than most divine beasts. How could the ancestral dragon race's products that were mass-produced from the sacrificial altar have any advantages in terms of attribute? Never mind 500 million. Yi Zichen reckoned he wouldn't even bat an eyelid at 5 billion. There's actually such a thing? Yi Zichen couldn't help but shake his head and mutter to himself. Then he glanced at Wei Hu, whose eyes were already filled with despair. Hurry up and retract your divine abilities. Those points of yours are all mine. If you keep burning them, I'll be heartbroken. I don't believe it. Wei Hu punched again, but Yi Zichen slapped him until his head was embedded into the floor. The hatchet men were dumbfounded. Yi Zichen dusted his hands, then sat back down on the chair and pondered about the point burn. It felt like it was a good thing for him. In truth, Yi Zichen was rather wary of using the power of a godhead. He was also afraid of being discovered by others. Now that he knew about this skill, he would keep 1 billion points for himself in the future. If anyone tried to suppress him with points, he would just burn them and drag them to the correction zone. In terms of physical strength, he was truly no weaker than a colossal dragon. Good skill, good skill. Yi Zichen grinned, then pulled Wei Hu out of the ground. Are you awake yet? Wei Hu's face was covered in blood, but the fear in his eyes for Yi Zichen was clear for all to see. Stop struggling with me. Obediently give me your points, and I'll treat your illness. I don't dare to say anything else, but I don't think anyone in the entire ancestral dragon clan can cure him. Wei Hu hesitated for a moment, then stopped burning his points. From his actions, it was clear that he had admitted defeat. Who are you? Wei Hu's eyes were filled with sighs and fear. I, Your Majesty of the human race. Yi Zichen shrugged with a smile. It's not your fault. It's my fault for being too ruthless. You don't waste too much time. Hurry up and give me your points, and we'll call it a day. I have 5 billion here for my boss. Wei Hu said. That has nothing to do with me. Yi Zichen shrugged. I said I want all of it, so your share seems to be around 6 billion. I want all of it. Wei Hu couldn't help but be shocked. This person was truly not afraid of death. Yi Zichen actually still wanted the boss's points even after he said it like that. Does he think I'm lying? There really are 1 billion people here who are led by us. Wei Hu said sternly, I'm not lying to you. If you take mine, then it'll be a grudge between us. But if you take my leaders, he won't let you off. TSK, TSK, TSK. All of you from the ancestral dragon clan are good people. Yi Zichen couldn't help but laugh. I'm stealing your points right now, and you're actually thinking about me? I'm really overwhelmed by your favor. I'm telling the truth. Wei Hu replied. Hurry up and hand it over. What's with all this bullshit? Yi Zichen glanced at him. You make it sound like you won't get your boss to take revenge on me as long as I get yours. I won't, Wei Hu shook his head. I admit that I'm not as good as you. I will make myself stronger, then come back for you. Thank you, but I don't need it. Regardless of whether Wei Hu was telling the truth or not, Yi Zichen was definitely getting his 6 billion. As for whether or not his leader, it had nothing to do with him. He dared to come. Perhaps he might just make a huge mess. He was a man with a cheat, those points and whatnot were not important to him. Fine, I'll give it to you. Seeing that Yi Zichen wasn't going to budge, Wei Hu didn't insist and took out the point stone. Yi Zichen grabbed the stone, then glanced at the other fighters. And you guys, don't think that you can run, I've always been very ruthless in what I do. Yi Zichen scratched his head, while the others were shocked. Hurry up, don't make me beat you up. For some reason, when Wei Hu saw Yi Zichen's actions, he felt like he had heard it somewhere before. Lord Su's gambling den. Was it yours as well? Gambling den? Are you talking about it being robbed clean? It was me, Yi Zichen shrugged. Yi Zichen shrugged. Actually, I wanted to tell you about this from the start. If you threaten me, then you'll have to die. Don't be too upset, everyone is like that. We treat everyone equally when we do things,